I think I have everything set up that I need to have set up. We're starting stream off with a little tiny bit of crafting. It's mostly just me cutting things out and putting it on our board. Because guess what I have? Hi Fruity, thank you for the contribution as well. Travis and Luna, thank you as well. I know I said it in chat already, but I do like at least verbalizing it. But these got dropped off. These got dropped off to me. So we're finally gonna use that board that Luna gifted us. They're very high quality. Look at how shiny they are. Like, well, it's hard to see. There it is. Look at that shine. Emmy spoils us. But yeah, finally got him. The wait was worth it. It was worth the wait. I do kind of have to fill in a little bit on some of these because the margins are dumb. And even though I said no margins, the file that I sent was determined to have margins remain. So I just have to, like Huggy lost his eyeballs. It's okay, I can put him back on now. It's a pen, so like it counts, right? It is a marginal issue, you're correct. I hate to admit it, but you're right. This is also a great time to remind everyone that we do have the draw redeem. Which I don't know, we might shake up some of the rules on that. I like what we had going. Devo, that's not yours. But it also might be nice to, I don't know, do something. Rip Travis. Rip Travis. I'm sorry that you died. But that just means you get to re-experience the whole thing, right? I am snotty again. It's fine. It's all fine. Now the question is... excuse me. The question is, especially with like ones like Kayshurrr and Huggy and Lobster Cache. There it is, Lobster Cache. Do we cut them out as squares or do we cut them out? Kayshurrr would be very easy to cut out. Not the peppered. Sorry. I'm looking at these and it's a thing. We did a thing. It's fine. Well, I mean, we don't necessarily have to cut, like, right up against the border, but we can kind of, like, wiggle around it instead of making those ones square, you know? Have them be a little more trimmed up, as it were. Excuse me. I don't know. Thoughts? Y'all get to help me decide how we do this board thing. I do need to take a picture of it once they're up though. Emmy has requested a picture. Since they're on their way home right now and aren't here. That's fair. Can we get an F in chat for Travis's death? Thank you, Luna. Here, I'll even help out. Pay respects. Well, there's one of them. Look at it. The Wiggles. Okay, well, for those of you not mourning, thoughts on cutting these out so they're a little more wiggly looking? I think I'm gonna do it. Again, not like full border, but kind of like a little close. Because full border would be atrocious, especially with, do something like this. That. Especially since some of these, like, don't have a proper border because I drew them bad. I think it would be good. It's not too much work. Huggy's gonna be, like, the worst of them, but even he isn't that bad. TK, hi! Thank you for the contribution to the Sinner Sandwich. I do think I want to do more of these, but I hate the fact that it takes us a while to get them printed because I have to like format them properly and then send them to Emmy, and then Emmy and I have to find a time to like meet so that I can get them. There's lobster cage. I kind of love it though. Sorry, I don't know why this is just so extremely endearing to me. Oh, it's very good. Would you like a lobster cage sticker? Look, I can definitely, some of these doodles I can definitely make into stickers if that's what we want. If that's what we want. I might also open up a channel in Discord, or in our server for things that you guys might like, because I'm still trying to like figure out which site to go through. Redbubble is probably the one that we'll land with for the time being. Just because then like everyone can kind of just order what they want with whatever horrific whatever horrific image they want. But I do want to do like official stuff at some point. You know how it is. But I still think that doing like big stuff is kind of a ways off. So Redbubble would be a nice in between for a lot of us. But I can definitely look into doing lobster cage stickers. It's Huggy. Why are these so good? I hated them. I used to hate them because I was like, ugh. MS Paint sticker, or not stickers, pictures. Like, look at how poorly done they are. But now that I'm seeing them like in person, I'm just like, I love. They're very good. But yeah, we are gonna do Tiny Bunny today. But this seemed like an extremely important thing to do before getting into Tiny Bunny, since we have waited so long for this to occur. And it's now here. I know I saw a lot of you earlier today. But how's it going? How was the rest of your day? How were the last couple of hours? Oh, come here, trash can. Now it's the not so fun. Well, they're not. I can't say they're not fun. They're fun, but they're more square. Oh, goodness. Y'all remember the days of Ghost Kisser? Remember when we were in love with Ghost Kisser? Yeah, right? It's a good one. I can hold up each individual one. That good paper sound. Once they're cut out. Basement carrying. That would definitely lend to ups and downs. Good. Well, I'm glad. It sounds like it hasn't been too terrible for some folks. So that's good. But reminder, it doesn't always have to be good. It's okay if it's not good all the time. Try not to leave too much paper nonsense around. Oh, there's the Fuckles. Hi, Fuckles. Come on, come on. There we go. He's very good. I love them. Alright, here's Fuckles. Fuckles is cut out. It says, tough day to be a Fuckles. Every day is a tough day to be a Fuckles, though. I don't remember where a lot of these came from. Like, what prompted them. Here's Kayshurrr fishing. A little fish down there is saying, we gotta go! There's Ethan getting chased by Lady D while I fish with a knife. And there's Reggie! That's Reggie, in case you were wondering. Reggie is there. Hi, Smiley! Luna, do you have any way of getting your groceries delivered at all? I mean, groceries are extremely important. So if you gotta go out, make sure to mask up. Maintain 6-foot distance as much as you possibly can. Take care. Sanitize anything and everything that you are touching. Maybe not everything, but yeah, but Amazon. Yeah, maintain that smell limit. No, that's rough. But also groceries are important and necessary for getting better when you're ill. So, right? It works out. Great. Great. Good. No, I feel that. We, I guess, in our area, everyone's finally starting to take COVID serious again, even though it never went away. And we've either been doing grocery pickup or grocery delivery. And we were supposed to do a pickup today, and like everyone is doing pickup orders right now. So we can't get our food until tomorrow, which is extremely unfortunate. Thank goodness I have enough to like tide me over until then, but I am very low on things, and I need all of it immediately. But I'm just like, honestly, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant here. Just a very quick COVID rant, because everything's annoying me right now. It's still happening. I think this is one of the reasons why I'm just like so emotionally tired right now. It's just like, so many people have just pretended that it's not been an issue, even though it has been. And it's like, as somebody who's high risk, it's like, can we please take this seriously so me and everyone around you don't possibly die and or become disabled or more disabled? Consider, people aren't considering. Shade. Why captions? That was incorrect. I did not say choo-choo. I said shade. But anyway, I'm not gonna linger on that too much because I think most of us get it here. But I don't know. I'm just tired. I don't know. But it's fine. We've got these great pictures. Look at this. Look, here. It's our lovely little sack of meat. Sakamit says, congrats! You did it! Yay! Thanks, Sakamit. And then we got Sassy Mushu Pork. The lovely, terrible, spaghetti utter Mushu Pork. Oh no. Here's concerned Mushu. This Mushu is very concerned about life. I like how I've like put him on the one side of the paper, and I've just got all this blank over here. It's fine. He's very worried about everything that's going on. You can tell because his nipples have retracted. And that's a fun fact about Mushu Pork. That's what happens when he gets scared. His nipples just retreat into his body. What am I saying? And then Calico Cage. Oh, hell yeah! You like the little... This is Hurst. Hey! Hey! He's got very proud nipples. Somehow the Calico Cage is even more terrifying than Huggy, which, sorry, when I bring it up like that, I take it back. That was horrifying. Hold on. Can we get a side by side? Oh my god. Okay, well... Ugh. How am I gonna do this? How? Ooh. Ooh. I can't see. This is a little bit of a problem. Because I don't know how to put these up and have you see them as I put them up. You get to see me in my PJs, it's fine. Does these work? How about... Yeah? Thereabouts? Okay. Yeah, we can work with this. This is fine. Please stay up there. Oh my god. I guess, do we want them in a nice, orderly fashion? Or just all over the place? I mean, we've got Manjuice up here. And I love Manjuice. Only chaos? Alright. I'll try to make this as chaotic as possible. You know what? I take it back. I am gonna cut out these ones just a little bit more. Especially with, like, Mushu kind of being, like, super squished on the one side of the paper. We don't need all that dead space. I tried to make them, like, so here's the thing. I tried to make it so that, like, they were a big enough size that you could maybe kind of see them. You might be able to recognize them from a distance, but also not so big that, like, the board fills up immediately. But we'll see, I guess. There's Mushu. Ah! That is true. I do have to do that. Did I put... Oh, this hurts my knees so bad. I'm just gonna sit down here. It's fine. I'm gonna need to double check to see if I put red thread on my my throne wish list. I know I've got some pins there because I found some cute pins that I thought would be funny, but I have regular pins here too, so it's fine. We're not pinless for the time being. If I think I have red yarn around here somewhere. I'd be shocked if I didn't, honestly. Llama can put them up for me. Hey, Llama! No, she's out. She is passed the fuck out right now. Travis, she is so asleep that when I got up to go get the pictures after our quick phone call, I, like, scooped her up in the blanket and set her on the bed, and she did not move. At all. Not in the slightest. She was content and happy. Just kind of existing. And that makes me happy. So yeah, we're wasting a lot of time right now, and I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm just happy to be here. Sleepy Piss Baby. I think she's doing a little better. I was really worried about her the other day. But my dad and I think we figured out what the issue is. And we're gonna get her some B12 specifically, but also just B vitamins in general, some supplements to try and help her, because I think she, given how long she's been on antibiotics, that's kind of affecting her. And it's specifically B12, because it helps with cognition. And given her neurological issues from last year, it's kind of catching up to her a little bit. This fucking sucks. Being down here on the ground. Holy shit. Okay, it's fine. Everything is fine. Here, let's get Kayshurrr up there. Where does Kayshurrr go? Kayshurrr can go up here. There you go, Kayshurrr. Once they're all up, I will hold it up a little closer to the camera. Right, art is pain, but not like this. The body says no. It's fine, I'll just sit down entirely on the floor, as opposed to trying to sit on my knees. Hi. My joints are shit. Move this a little closer, this is fine. I can reach from here. Do I need to cut any of these other ones out? That one can't really be cut. Neither can Sack of Meat. Ghost Kisser can't really be cut out, nor can Fuckles. Yeah, no, none of these other ones can really be cut out. Okay. When do you get a hook hand? I have not been stung by a bee. I do have a wrist brace because my joints hate me. So maybe, I mean, joint pain's a step away from a bee sting, right? So maybe soon? Hook hand soon? Look, I would love a hook hand. Oh. There's too many of these. Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna keep wiggling around until I find a comfortable way to do this. Surprise! There is no comfortable way. But I don't have to cut anything else out, so I can just kind of stand up and do this. Here, we got Fuckles. Fuckles can go up here. It's a tough day to be a Fuckles. Here's Sack of Meat. Sack of Meat can go here. Thanks, Sack of Meat. You were great. We got me fishing. Try fishing. Fishing goes here. That's a good one. We want Ghost Kisser. Ghost Kisser can go over here. Here's Ghost Kisser. Ah! Board, please. Chair, I need you to not eat my board. Thank you. No, we're never gonna reach I guess Gex can get cut out. I just feel like the square ones are so big. I thought that these would be small enough, and they're not. There was 100% more screaming involved. And it was awful. And never again. No more fishing ever. I'm still very upset about the fishing. Like, so upset about the fishing. Alright, here's Gex. That's a Gex. It was not great. I think when you say great, you mean it was awful? Because it was awful. There's a Gex. The 30 seconds was too much. Never again. It all comes back. The lobster cage. Lobster cage is gonna be the center one. And, Huggy can go here. Huggy can go here. Here we go! There's our board. Look at it. Look at how beautiful it is. I can't get it too close, because there is, like, a wall. Not that far away. But there's the board! It's now got things on it! And I love it! Thank you, Luna, again, for gifting me this lovely cork board. We love it! Alright. You get to live over here now, cork board. Back to your place. Don't want you falling though. Please stay up there. Okay. I do need to take a picture of it, like I said, for Emmy. Picture got. Picture got. I'm very happy with this. I love how it is extremely crooked in the background. It's fine. You know why? You know why it's extremely crooked? Because my webcam is extremely crooked. That's a little better. It's not, though. Do we have to... Okay, so here's the question about the string. Do we start adding string now? Or once the board is so full that it's hard to navigate? That's the real question. Did I drop something? I feel like I dropped something. I may not have. My socket is falling off, though. Okay. I gotta send that to Emmy. I'm doing this now, so I don't forget, because otherwise I will. Also, we've only been here for like 30 minutes, but I have to pee now. So, we, might take a very short break, and then come back and do some Tiny Bunny? Yeah? Yeah? Sound good? Well, if it doesn't, that's too fucking bad, because that's what we're doing. strip it and rip it. I'm back. I'm set to go. Are you ready? Chat, are you ready to do the thing? Because I am. I am so sniffly, and I am so sorry for that. But you know what? Sometimes you gotta be. It's fine. Alright, let's tell Spotify to get out of here. And also, start this dang game up. I'm so scared that it's gonna be too loud. Okay, so plan is to replay chapter 2 because it's been a minute. The last time that we played was in August. I remember bits and pieces of it, but not enough to, like, feel super confident. What's your hint? What's your hint? What's your hint? Well, Fruity Selling is what their hint is. Yeah, I remember bits and pieces, but not enough to really go into chapter 3 with full confidence. Rabbit boosts a friend's HP by 1 if they eat shop food. What is this a reference to? You've got what is this? What is this? This is episode 2. Oh, it's Super Auto Pets. Okay, I see. I understand. But to recap what happened in chapter 1 for either those who were not here for it or for those of us who don't remember, we are playing as a child named Anton? Is our name Anton? We're already off to a really great start. Anyway, we're this kid. Our parents have moved us out into the middle of flippin' nowhere, essentially. To our grandmother's old house because she recently passed away. Our parents don't get along because why would they? And our little sister is terrified of the woods around our house, which fair. We've also experienced some weird things. A couple of cops showed up to our house to let us know that a child had gone missing in the area. We decided that we were gonna play detective. I think we're like 10 or 12. We're very young. But we were gonna play detective and try and find this missing child. We went out into the woods, found a mitten, and in our infinite wisdom, decided to go grab the mitten. It was soaking wet. Something started chasing us. We ran home. It was spooky. Mom drugged us? Mom is questionable, but really hot. Absolute mommy. Total MILF. Sorry. But yeah, that happened. Insanely hot mom. I don't think our character is not dealing with the Oedipal struggle of having an insanely hot mom. But I, Acacia, can tell you right now, insanely hot mom. So ridiculously hot. But, yeah. We're gonna hang out with our little sister, Olia. Her name I do remember. But we were gonna find a movie while she went and got us drinks. And while that was happening, we saw something spooky on the television talking about a bunch of children that went missing in the area who ended up being torn apart by a monster? I think? And then there was a jump scare and it was spooky and scary. And then something jumped out of the door at us. And that's mostly what I remember. Like I said, I think, they're brand new to the area, so I think we're getting ready to go to school now, but it's gonna be, our first day at school. And I think everything else that I remember is from Chapter 2, so I don't want to get into it just yet. There is some bullying that occurs during this chapter. There is some use of some homophobic slurs, but it's like twice, and it's later in the chapter, which doesn't make it better. I don't know why I said that like it would make it better. It's not gonna make it better, but just as a heads up, it is in here. I remember being caught off guard by it because the content warnings on the page, on the store page, weren't super in-depth. Yeah, it was pretty rough. So just a heads up on that one, because I don't think we've really come across that in any of the other games that we have played thus far. It is during a scene like where some bullies are calling our character some bad names, which again does not make it correct, nor does it justify it. It doesn't. But again, I just want to put that out there, especially since we are a queer channel, and a lot of people in chat are some kind of LGBTQ plus person and or an ally. So, heads up. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to say about it. The content warnings that we do have are as in-depth as I possibly can be at the moment. There is no does the dog die page for this game, and like I said, the content warnings on the store page aren't ideal. Literally the only ones that they offered were violence and gore, and then general mature content warning, and it's like, okay, but what? But that's enough talking about it. I guess we'll just hop on in since we're, 45 minutes into stream and we're here to do the thing. This will be our evening game for the time being. I know that chapter 2 is kind of long, and I imagine chapter 3 will also be kind of long, so I imagine that this will be our game for this week and next. Unless we end up just being like, nah, I'm good. But the art in it's really, really awesome. The storytelling is really fantastic. The ambiance, the sound design, fucking phenomenal. And I have really enjoyed it thus far, even with some of the rougher patches. But anywho, let's fucking go. And if the sound ends up being weird or anything, let me know. It's gonna be kind of hard to tell, especially with like some of the jump scares, because I know that they can be extremely loud. Even if you have things turned down. So another heads up on that one. When we say jump scares, we mean jump scares. Anywho. New school, new teachers, and most importantly, new classmates who I always have trouble connecting with. Like most other kids with glasses, probably. Forced myself to get out of my warm bed. Dad would usually drive me to my old school, but this morning the bedroom of my parents was silent. Did they sleep in? Maybe it was a good thing. I didn't want to get the daddy's boy reputation from day one. My parents were probably still tucked in, dreaming about the good old days, when everything was so simple and easy. Sweet dreams, even if far removed from reality. I silently sneaked out to the first floor so I wouldn't wake up anybody, especially the peaceful sleeping Olya. Oh, and this takes place somewhere in Russia as well, if that helps contextualize some things. We do have a glossary if there is anything that we don't understand, recognize, or have a frame of reference for. I did my best to step on the middle of every floorboard. I used to play like this even in our old apartment. If my soles touched the spaces between floorboards, it counted as stepping into lava. The clock was spurring me on with its hands. I need to hurry. Faster. Faster. I was too fast, so I needed to circle the hallway once again. Boiling lava was bursting out of the cracks between floorboards. I needed to watch my step to survive at any cost. Hippity-hop like a frog jumping on molehills. Like a fearful bunny in a grove full of wolves. I made a sandwich in the kitchen, shoved it down my throat, and drank it down with cold tea. My appetite was as good as of someone being led up the scaffold toward a guillotine. I lowered my gaze and saw that one of my feet was standing on 2 floorboards at the same time. Burnt to a crisp, huh? I moved my foot. Disgusting little snakes writhed in my belly, the fear of getting hit and being called nasty names. The clock clicked. I need to go. It was dark outside, fitting for an early winter morning. This darkness never fully left the houses around here. I took my time tying my shoes, buttoning up the puffy down jacket, trying to delay my unpleasant exit into the semi-dark, into the unnerving unknown. I rubbed my glasses for good luck, though I couldn't remember a single time these thick pieces of glass brought me any good fortune. I'm going through. The sky was akin to a giant bruise. On the east side of it, a black cloud was swelling up. It licked up stars from the sky and extinguished the rising sun. Darkness was plastered all over the treetops. The cautious cries of birds got tangled up in the thicket. I locked the front door with a long key that I wore around my neck. My parents made me wear this noose, afraid that I, being a total klutz like I am, could lose the key otherwise. Sorry, there was like a sound like something was running up on us. Ugh. The wind whizzed on the other side of the gate and invited me into my new life toward dubious adventures. And tagged alone like an old buddy pushing me in the back. You mean, and tagged along like an old buddy? Okay. Wide shadows that pines threw out covered a third of the clearing. Upon reaching the edge of the forest, I hid my nose in the coat's collar. I was squeezing through the thin fire break, my hair ruffled up and my back hunched over. Tall trees stood on both sides of the tiny trail. The snowy blanket rustled under my feet, and the canopy of intertwined branches above my head cut me off from the already sparse starlight. The night had no plans of moving away from the forest. In this darkness, trees reminded me of shaggy old women that smelled burial earth. Their trunks turned into cracked, wrinkled faces with holes in the middle as their mouths. If I lost focus even for a moment, mold-covered witches would drag me into the forest depths. Then my parents would be walking around these parts screaming my name, but the dead can't answer the living. Or can they? A sense of panic was growing in my chest. I was fine with Dad carrying me into the school in his hands by now if it saved me from watching the darkness rise up in the ravines like black dough. Felt like someone jumped into the bushes behind me, so I turned around. As soon as I started walking faster, I heard the snow squeak behind me. The forest took a deep breath with its giant lungs. The windfall cracked. The wind and the birds were left behind in the field. Now I could only hear the forest creak. I walked, listening closely, and the unseen presence grew stronger. As if someone was following me, trying to match the pace of my footsteps. Turned my head so fast it made my neck crunch. Tiny trail behind me disappeared into the darkness. Tree branches overlapped, forming a natural tunnel. Who's there? The question escaped my lips and dissolved into the unending creaking sound of the wooden idols, the pines around me. Why did I think going through the forest alone was a good idea? I'm either going mad, or someone had intentionally lured me away from my home. Distant lights granted me a smidgen of hope. A country road. Country road, take me home. Sorry. Let me just immediately break the tension. I ran there as fast as I could, as if afraid that the trail will shrink. Clawed hands will grip me by the shoulders, turn me around, and make me look at the faces of hungry forest denizens. In the end, nobody stopped me. I almost flew to the decrepit wooden bridge, disbelieving my luck. The bridge's supports bathed in a spring terry and ice cold. I put my hands on my knees and looked up at the forest, then snorted, trying to calm my breathing. The thicket was pretending to be asleep. It looked peaceful, lifeless. The remaining part of my commute lied through a snow-laden road, illuminated by sparse lamplights. I chased away bad thoughts and ran as fast as I could, from one circle of light to another, seeking protection from electric lamps. Just like in that game, where you need to be the first to proclaim, "I'm protected." It's just in this case that protection was flimsy at best, with darkness writhing outside its bounds. Then I noticed something remarkably eerie. Bad sounds. In a place where the light from an inclined lamp couldn't reach, a hairy, crooked shadow came alive with a guttural roar. It almost felt like its features deterred light. Its unnatural pose instilled fear. My eyes almost popped out of their sockets as I just stood there, blinking, trying to chase away that illusion. But the shadow didn't disappear and even got closer. My insides were gripped by horror. I stepped back and almost fell into a snow pile. The black silhouette, on the other hand, straightened up and addressed me in a sweet voice. Sneaking around, huh? Trying to steal my soul? Words got stuck in my throat. Who could be talking in such a silky voice here, between the forest and the dormant village? Will you say something, dummy? Cat got your tongue? Alright, well, bite off your nose then. That'll teach you not to poke it in places it doesn't belong. A girl stood before me, judging from the voice and the silhouette. But I couldn't even reprimand myself for getting scared by a girl before noticing a gaping mouth under her hood with something dangerously shiny inside. I was stunned. It's our fox girlfriend, don't worry about it. From the cavity of her hood, a frighteningly real fox face was staring straight at me. It's just her jaws weren't moving and her eyes weren't blinking. A mask. It's just a girl with a fox mask on. At least I wanted to think that. After a surprise like that, a nervous smile involuntarily crept onto my face. I was just going to school and then you... What about me? Never seen a fox feed a dog. Look at the pupper. Look at the pupper. And indeed, there was a small dog circling the girl's legs. One of the strays that were chasing me yesterday, probably. Sorry, I didn't mean to... After hearing my voice, the dog whimpered, lowered its ears, sniffed me out, and then started wagging its tail. I guess it still smelled the bologna that I ate that for breakfast. I was shifting my gaze back and forth from the dog to the girl. She didn't seem scary anymore. Just weird. So you didn't mean to, huh? What's your name? I'm Anton. And you? And I'm not. She's weird. Definitely has a couple of loose screws. But she has a nice voice. My astonishment was turned into a mix of happiness and relief. This girl I didn't know was definitely human, if a bit eccentric. I was also a bit angry at myself. This foxy girl was walking through the darkness without problem, and I shuddered from every little sound. I could just walk away, but this girl had piqued my interest. The next time a police officer asks me about my friends at the new place, I'll tell him that I befriended a talking fox. Do you live around here? In the village? The fox giggled and purred. Hold on a second. I am gonna I turned the sounds off, like the voices, but I do kind of like them. Well, I turned them down, never mind. And then we'll turn these up. Okay. She spun around so hard the hem of her coat lifted up. No, dummy. Foxes don't live in villages. So you live in the forest, then? Have you been living under a rock? It's obvious that foxes can't survive anywhere near humans. As long as they're foxes. Her jokes were also weird. Just like her carnival mask, paper mache with fur glued onto it. A dog reminded us of its existence with a loud bark. I unfastened my backpack. Dad would sometimes throw food in there without my knowledge. Cookies, apples, or even my favorite crab sticks. He called it a gift from the bunny. The stray strolled toward me with mincing footsteps, with a pleading look in its eyes. Fox did definitely treat it to something, but it was probably still hungry. Why are you dressed like this so early in the morning? Going to a costume party? The girl shrugged, throwing silvery snowflakes off her nose. And her human form along with it, turning into a genuine beast. A real fox. Agile, cunning, dangerous. A moment of hesitation and you'll be ripped to shreds. She'll tear you up and gulp you down without breaking a sweat. I couldn't help but just stand there as a stump. Until I heard her calm, melodic laughter hidden underneath the beastly mask. We have very different definitions of what calm and melodic are. I wish you could have seen your own mask, sweetie. Did she say sweetie? I got embarrassed, went red up to my hair roots. We'd seen a fox in a zoo once when we went there with Dad, but it had patchy fur, was gray and skinny. But this girl was a fiery color and furry, just like in fairy tales. I was still rummaging through my backpack. My fingers that were searching for the dog's treat stumbled upon some soft, crumpled object. You'll see. The real beasts will wake up soon. You should ask them where they got their human faces. The girl's shadow was dancing in the lamp's light. The dog yapped in agreement. I freaked out and dropped my finding in the snow without getting a proper chance to examine it. Cold wind instantly covered the hole it created with snow. The dog rushed to dig it out, wanting to get its treat. And the fox just snorted. Now I was so embarrassed I wanted to sink through the snow. It was still dark outside of the electric circle. On the contrary, the darkness seemed even more thick. All neighboring houses were sleeping deeply in its inkiness. I did my best to continue the conversation with the weird girl I didn't know. So, are you going to school? Oh my, you really are a dummy. Don't you get it? Well, I was trying to be friendly, but she can't stop mocking me. Calling me a dummy and all. She should have just moved along without paying any attention to this weirdo and her stupid dog. Why are you so mean? Don't answer if you don't want to. It's not like I care. Still, something froze me in place, tugged me toward the dark figure. A mysterious appearance, her voice that was velvety and just languid enough. I was intrigued and excited. I watched her as people watch fires burn. Oh, stop pouting. Look here. Zulka took a liking to you. The dog was digging through the snow with sharp movements, snoring loudly. The fox turned around and looked at the windows of a nearby house, at its timbered front through the white mist. The tip of her fake nose was shining under the lamp's light. And maybe someone else, too. It went red again, like a boiled crawfish this time. Is she talking about herself or someone else? I hoped that the semi-dark would be able to hide my embarrassment from the girl. I cleared my throat before asking, and who's that person? I waited, counting my heartbeat. Fox didn't reply. Her sly stare was scanning the frosty patterns of someone's windows. She was reading them like a glass book. Wonder what she can see in those winter paintings. The stray stopped rummaging through the snow. It ran to me, holding my object in its jaws. A mitten. Could it be the one I found in the forest? What is it doing here? When I looked closer, I realized that it was just my mitten. Maybe Mom stuffed it there when I was asleep? A certain missing boy immediately came to mind.
Эй, ты знаешь что-нибудь про Вову?
Hey, do you know anything about Vova? I imagine the scene, silhouettes dancing in the clearing. The dance on the night when Vova had disappeared. A boy who, when found, can provide a big reward and maybe save my family. I remembered my birthday, when our parents promised to take me and Olya to Disneyland in Paris. But instead of a long-anticipated gift, they gave me a simple brick game console, visibly embarrassed. I was crying my eyes out back then, demanding to take me to the promised amusement park. That was the first time when Mom and Dad had a big fight. My greediness shattered the relationship. If only I could fix everything, gather everybody I love and take them to Disneyland. On the night Vova had disappeared, I think I saw someone looking like you dancing under my window. Couldn't be true, but I felt like her mask became even more sly. The fox was sniffing me out. Oh, that got you worried? For yourself or for someone else? Oh yeah, as soon as I thought about my sister, my chest tightened and cold sweat streamed down my spine. Well then, listen closely, a boy named Anton. This is a big and scary forest. Fox Girl stepped forward menacingly. And I'm not its only tenant. Ma'am. The other beasts already know about you. Beware. We'll come again tonight. I shouldn't have talked to this evil in child form, I thought, panicking. When you and your parents will be fast asleep, we'll sneak really close and dance. The Macarena. Huh?
Hey, Macarena!
His face! Look at you! Your mouth is agape, Antosha. He saw me near his window at night. Yeah, right. Are you, by any chance, a dimwit? Nobody would let me go outside that late. Children go missing here, you know. I touched the plastic frame of my glasses, puzzled by her silly joke. She got me scared to death. Hey, why don't you stop fondling your glasses? I was also nearsighted once. Listen to me, and maybe you'll become smarter. Remember what do they call foxes? Cunning? My words seemed to hurt her. Hey, what did you...
Ой, прости.
I'm sorry? Her laughter was akin to the jingle of a pair of silver bells. Again, I think we're hearing very different laughs.
Да шучу я.
Just pulling your leg.
Конечно,
Of
Плутон.
course, for cunning.
Если ты
If you're
ловкий
agile and
слон,
brave enough to
не
befriend a cunning
боишься
fox,
с
I'll
плутом
help you look for your
приводиться.
vova.
Ты же неспроста
There's a reason why you're
видишь.
doing it, right? I shrugged in reply. Her insight was alarming.
Знаю, почему
I know
дети
why children have been
повадились
swarming
соваться
our
в
forests
нашли.
recently.
Порой там можно найти
Sometimes you can find a
много
lot of interesting
всякого.
stuff there.
Я вот однажды
One day, I
нашла
saw a huge pile of
целую
candy
сумку
once, and I
конфет.
swam in it until my
И
jaws
купалась.
cramped. A pile of candy? I can't deduce whether she believed in what she was saying from the tone of her voice. I showed her another smile, a fake one this time.
Посмотрите-ка, какой
Ooh, so
недоверчивый.
wary!
Ну,
Well, what will you say to this
что
then?
скажешь?
She held out her hand in a furry mitten. There was an assortment of sweets in her palm. In the city where I used to live, sweets like these were sold at markets or in kiosks. I saw my favorite bubblegum in a vivid wrapper among the tasty treasure. A familiar name was on it. Turbo. Are we going to be part of the Turbo team? Triangular fox face poked her nose toward me.
Угощайся.
Take some.
У меня их
My pockets are full of
полный
these. I mean, we're gonna take it, right? No more having to walk slowly. Ever again. We're gonna take it. I accepted the treat and catching a whiff of the girl's smell. For fireworks and citrus. Smell of holidays. Can we not? I do remember us being extremely creepy anytime a lady was near us. And just because we're 12, that doesn't mean it's okay. Please don't be weird. Child. My fingers tingled while I was carefully unwrapping the gum. Peachy aroma entered my nostrils. Something else. Something unfamiliar, but pleasant. The fruity cube ended up in my mouth. I started moving my molars, chewing the gum. It tasted like your usual Turkish gum, only my tongue went a bit numb. I couldn't believe my luck after opening the insert. We got a Mercedes-Benz. I looked at a Mercedes-Benz, an extremely rare and hence desirable collector's item for any boy from my previous neighborhood. My heart skipped a beat. I was barely able to tear my eyes off the insert, still stunned.
Это же...
This is...
Теперь понял, что
Now
можно
do you see
найти в
what can be
лесу.
found in the forest?
Только на твоем
Still,
месте.
I wouldn't go there
Я бы
alone if I
туда
were you.
водила тебе вон от жвачки.
You get
Забыл
so
бы,
flustered
как
over
не
simple
сперла.
bubblegum after
А
all.
представляешь,
Imagine what
что
would
с
happen
тобой
if you
будет,
find a travel case
если
worth of
найдешь
these.
чемодан таких? Голову напрочь
It'll surely
снесет.
blow your mind. Unusual treats. Just like everything else about her. Carefully hid the insert in my bag, as if I was putting a rare butterfly in a can. The fox giggled. This is not how things are supposed to go on a Monday morning. Who are you? Wait a second! Who are you? I refrained from asking that question. She wouldn't answer anyway. Or she'll just lie. I really wanted to see what's behind her mask. I was becoming more and more sure that underneath it wasn't just a simple young girl.
Может, Вова тоже
What if
нашел
Vova
себе
also
гроб
found a snow
сладостей
pile
и
with
теперь
sweets and is now
кувыркается в
rolling
нем?
in it?
Слушай,
Actually, what if he
вдруг
decided
он
to stay in
решил
the forest?
остаться в лесу?
Right, Mondays, am I right? How is the in-game sound? Is it too loud, too quiet, just right? We all good? It looks like it's fine, but I'm never sure. I'm never sure. I'm just gonna keep asking, though.
Тогда, наверное, ему
He must be
очень
so cold without a
холодно,
second
подумал
mitten, then.
Варежка.
The wind caught her words like smoke from a fire and carried them deep into the darkness, into the creepy thicket. The trees behind me creaked with their bony branches.
Или
Or
с
what
ним
if
что-то случилось в
something
пути?
happened to him along the way?
Что-то страшное.
Something terrible. Forrest reacted to her words, becoming alive. It sniffed me out, perking up its ears, just like a curious beast. Foxgirl pierced me with her eyes again.
Дикие звери.
Wild beasts?
Это, по-твоему,
You find
страшно?
that scary?
Ну, не
Well,
знаю.
I don't know.
Не знаю.
He doesn't know.
Уж не с двоечником
Oh
ли
my,
я
have I befriended a
подружилась?
dunce? I didn't like being called a dunce, yet being friends with her sounded nice.
Я хорошист.
My grades are good.
Бел да пушист.
Really now.
Пойдешь со мной?
Will you come with me, good grades,
Хорошо,
Anton?
найдем твоего.
We'll find your Vova, and you'll be able to ask him what he found deep in the forest.
Пока мы
As long as you're with me, nothing can hurt you in the forest. You'll see. Worms of worry writhed in my belly. Better run, whispered my
Я
mind.
тебе не верю.
I don't believe you.
Ты думаешь,
You take me for a liar?
Ты, пожалуйста.
Whatever. You're just like everybody else. The girl sounded hurt, although I didn't know if she was genuine about it. She turned around as if she had immediately lost all interest in me. The gum felt bitter now. I remembered my dad's favorite saying, "Where are your manners, son?" Indeed, this fox was kind to
Не
me.
обижайся, пожалуйста.
Please don't get mad.
Лисы бывают и добрыми.
Foxes can also be
Ну,
nice,
как в сказках.
like in fairy
Мне
tales.
бы только понять, что
I just
ты
need to know what
зависала.
kind of fox you are. Girl giggled, hiding the nose of her mask in her hands.
Тогда пойдем со
Then
мной
follow
в
me into the
лес.
forest and you'll get to know me.
Всё, но не сейчас.
But not right now,
Когда
when it gets
всё
bright.
тихо.
I mean,
А то
your
тебя
whole body is
больного
shaking,
всего
you
ж
poor
потрёшь.
thing.
Того и гляди, кондрашка
I don't
хватит.
want you to get a stroke.
Айда, провожу тебя до
Let me
школы.
accompany you to school. After hearing this, the dog barked in agreement and stopped messing with the mitten. I leaned in, trying to grab the piece of handwear that almost ran away from me.
Ну, если тебе по пути...
Well, if you're going in the same direction... Are foxes and fairy tales nice? Not! I don't think so. Not usually. I wouldn't necessarily say they're all evil, but they're usually mischievous and maybe sometimes a little rude. I don't know. Who knows Russian fairy tales? Quick. Fill us in. Also, hi Allie, I love you. Right, maybe in Russia. Maybe. Who knows? Well, if you're going in the same direction, they're all there. All the ones that I know. We went toward the school and Lost Dawn. Here and there. I don't think the dog dies. I don't think the dog dies. There, as I'm thinking about it, there might be... Does the dog die? Is a good question. I think the dog might get kicked once. Mayhaps. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna add that real fast. Again, I wish like stuff like this would be added. Like, I understand generalized content warnings on store pages, but also for things like that, it's like, people should know. You should let people know if there's, like, animal abuse or anything. Okay, I have added it. Dog might die. Animal cruelty for sure, for sure. Slash, I want to know, like, I want to find out how to add pages to Does the Dog Die? Because again, I know that, like, at least some of us would be willing to fill it out. Yeah. Alright. Here and there the lights came on in windows of houses we passed, as if their inhabitants were sending us warning signs. Silhouettes lurked behind curtains, dogs let out occasional barks. Spirals of gray smoke rose from chimneys, TVs bustled and dishes clanged in kitchens. We watched the village slowly rise from its slumber while carefully treading the snowy wheel trails. I walked in the left one and she took the right one. The dog was following right behind us. I expected the fox to bring up something weird again, but she stayed silent, all the way to the school as if playing with me some game only she was privy to. She would only giggle from time to time when the dog sneezed from the snowflakes that fell on its nose. I was the first to break the silence.
Так как тебя зовут?
So, what's your name? Oh, here it comes. Names, names, names. People always need to put labels on everything. What name would you give to a fox like me?
Даже не знаю.
I don't know.
Но я читал про лису
But
по
I've
имени
read
Алиса.
about Elisa the Fox. Also, Travis, you said the Fox and the Gingerbread Man? Was the fox nice there? Also, I'm gonna pick up Lamia. Hold on a second. Hi, baby. Would you like to come sit in my lap? Yeah. I would like to cuddle you. It's okay. It's just me. It's just me. Look. Hi, baby. Deaf not nice? Okay. Hi, Emmy. Hi, baby. I don't get to snuggle her nearly as much right now as I usually do. Because she just wants to sleep all day. Well, welcome home. You're just in time for some of the nonsense. Also, I sent you a picture of the board. I don't know if you got it, but we did cover it and stuff. I'm not going to move too much because that would mean I would have to move Lamia. Well, welcome home. Your printings did turn out wonderfully. Thank you again for doing that for me, Emmy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Home Emmy is happy Emmy. It's true. Alright. But I've read about Elisa the Fox.
А что?
You know what?
Я не против.
I don't mind.
Пусть будет Алиса.
I'll be Elisa. I couldn't understand if she was joking or not. I turned around as if looking for an answer from the dog, looking for an answer from the dog, from the dark sky, devoid of dawn. My silent questions were left unanswered. The school's outline was already in our sight. I remember not trusting this man. This man gives me bad vibes. A giant brick box stuck in the endless night. Lights in its windows didn't bode well for me. The warden trees were guarding the schoolyard. Screams, childish laughter, and someone whistling tore up the silence. I went here with Mom when we just moved, and the place looked cozy at that time. Empty corridors that smelled of polish, puffy snow outside. The second time I came alone to get the books and just kept on imagining my peers rolling down the railings, grade schoolers running to the library, and teachers marching down the corridor with the air of self-importance around them. High schoolers were smoking at the entrance in track pants and wool caps perched on their foreheads. Their appearance destroyed the last of hopes for a cozy school. Their stingy eyes and the teeth, yellow from nicotine, their smirks, all of it had the same gloomy effect as the cloudy winter morning. Absorbed by my thoughts, I completely forgot about my companion.
После уроков жду тебя на заднем дворе.
I'll wait for you at the backyard after school. Near the hanged man.
Возле кого?
Near what? She just ignored my question.
Не опаздывай.
Don't be late. I hesitated. Blowing hot and cold again. Mom always said that when I would have trouble choosing between two options. Thinking about Mom helped me
Я
reply.
после школы сразу домой.
I'm going straight home after school.
Эх, Антоша, Антоша.
Well, Antosha, I'm going to let you off the hook.
Другие же
But the
незаметно
others will creep up to you with their
подкрадутся со
smiles
своими
and sink their teeth
улыбочками
into you.
и вцепятся.
Won't be able to shake them off as
Кайшуррр,
easily.
запомни мои слова.
Remember my words. The fox opened her mouth in a wide yawn. What kind of trick is this? Fruity, do we need to stage an intervention for you? Because, listen, I think Super Auto Pets is becoming a problem. Hi, Lamia. Well, sorry, she's very happy, but demands the hands. Super Auto Pets is not the future. Super Auto Pets is our doom. Not the bunny strats. I see you playing Super Auto Pets, Fruity. I see you booting up Super Auto Pets. Fruity is out of control. Hi. Kitten. What kind of trick is this? Someone running in the distance called out my name. I instinctively turned around. No. No. A huge snowball whizzed past my shoulder and hit the dog. It whimpered and ran toward the spring. The darkness devoured it. Fox Girl was also nowhere to be seen. She dissolved into frosty air. Or was she hiding in my shadow? I gulped and swallowed the gum. Unlucky. After taking a deep breath, I went toward the school, toward the cutlets and dough, toward the light raining down onto the snow. Not gulp toot. Go toot? What is this? Things I can look at. There was a fresh-looking Volga parked nearby, with one of its front wheels perched up on the icy curb. Black like soothe. What? You mean black like soot? As if it was straight out of the horror story Dad loved to tell me when we hid in the attic during a thunderstorm. Gulp toot. Hi, David. I remember him always wearing a sad smile while mentioning the black car that snatched children. He would say, looks like a funeral car on the inside, white curtains and all. And it has DSC on its license plate. You know what that means? Death to Soviet children. Funny, I was born in the USSR too. A tall man was standing near the gate, puffing out clouds of smoke into the wind. He didn't look like a teacher. Was he a PE guy, maybe? I carefully studied his face that looked like it was cut from a piece of granite, and his hair lip that was holding down a cigarette. He was playing around with car keys and staring back at us. The light from the cigarette was reflected in his eyes that were sitting deep in his eye sockets. I froze in place. The hulking man lazily tore off his eyes from us and walked toward the road. 2 puppies and a T-Rex sounds like a wild picture book. I would read it. Beautiful. Oh. He walked away. Whose nest is this, I wonder? A thieving magpie? And it probably has all sorts of shiny things up in there. Pieces of colorful glass, bottle caps, polished coins, or child braces. Why would they have braces? Why would it have braces? Are we at 67% for the sandwich? It still says 66. Oh, there it is, 67. Thank you, Allie, for the contribution to the Sinner sandwich, getting us to 67%. You guys have, like, really just, like, breezed through this one, haven't you? Nem, thank you as well. A buzzing crowd of upperclassmen with their winter hats tipped to the side. Better not draw their attention. We gotta stop it at the nice percentage. I mean, I'm not gonna say no to that. But that does mean no sandwich for me. I could hear muffled voices behind the doors, saw blinking lamps. Darkness crept along the windows, and it felt like the school was drifting in open space like a lonely lost spaceship. After going up to the second floor, I noticed a crowd around the notice board. Everyone was taking part in a lively discussion. I moved closer and took a look at something everyone was interested in through a wall of backpacks. There was a piece of paper with something printed on it. It glued to the left of the notice board. Ooh. Attention, child missing! Vova... What? I have no idea how to say his last name, and I'm not even gonna try, because I will butcher this. 10 years old. Child missing. Vova. That was his name. A 4th grader. On the grainy print, Vova looked dead, with a black mouth and dark, empty eyes. Could it be that the darkness dwelling deep in the forest invaded his pores and mutilated his face? A plastic toy gun couldn't protect him from the whispering branches and the howling wind.
Vova Matyukin.
Matyukin? Matyukin? Is that right? I don't know. Kimmerl's pronunciation seems dubious, but I also don't know shit about how to speak Russian. Trust Kimmerl. Alright. Matyukin. Alright. Vova, easy. Got that. Done. Matyukin. 10 years old, grade 4. He left his home on January the 5th around 1600 hours and never returned. Was last seen at the bridge over the Smorodina? Smorodina? Matyukin. Alright. We all trust Kimmerald. Understood. We will default to whatever Kimmerald says. Kimmerald knows best. Empty eyes of the lost boy pierced through my soul as if pleading. Unable to meet his stare, I turned around and rushed to the window, took a seat on the windowsill. The corridor was slowly filling up with children in groups of few. In groups of a few? Nobody paid me any mind. In the darkness of the school toilets, child voices were hammering a nursery rhyme. I don't even remember how to say that one, but I remember that situation. That's fair. If she can say that, she can say Matukin. Fair enough. For the fox and for the bear, bunny tasty meals prepare. I turned my head toward them, trying to get a better look at their features, but then my attention was stolen by a loud clicking sound. A female teacher marched down the corridor with her chin raised up high. Her heels were hitting the floor like miniature hooves. A girl was...
Schenectady.
Schenectady. Right. Schenectady. Schenectady. such a strange word. Words in general, very weird. A girl was trailing her every step. Also, thank you for the bits, Allie. She was also looking pompous, stopping along the way and whispering some secret in her friend's ear. Hi. She was probably a class rep since she was carrying an attendance register book.
Екатерина, возьми, пожалуйста.
Ekaterina, take this, please? The teacher opened the classroom door and the crowd of children swarmed in, screaming and pushing. Out of all of them, a tall, red-headed fat boy caught my attention. His face was full of blisters. He looked like the insides of a pomegranate. A bad feeling rose up the hair on my back, or on the back of my head. I've seen boys like him before. Unsettled eyes, cackling laughter. The girl, who was a smaller copy of the teacher, warned the boy with a wave of her hand and entered the room through the clearing in the crowd. Some other guy stood in the way of the crowd, and the redhead immediately shoved him. Move your legs, moron! The boy flew headfirst, flailing his hands, trying to keep his balance. The kid burst out laughing, and a couple of the kids joined his nasty cackling. We don't need to resort to name-calling already, Anton. Listen here. Their laughter sounded like someone was snipping with huge garden scissors. The classroom sucked all of the kids in. The corridor stood empty. I wanted to grow roots and stay on the windowsill. Just a handful of lampposts outside were battling the darkness, writhing like fluorescent fish in the black ocean. Maybe I can still run away? Go outside, dissolve in the dark. I imagined myself running through the snow, how it squeaks under my boots, and how I'm becoming lighter and lighter with every step. The ringer's trill blew that illusion away. Tore myself from the window with great effort, then took a couple of deep breaths, trying to at least calm down my mad pulse, and entered the classroom. We're gonna get got. The prim teacher looked at me over the frames of her glasses, clearly annoyed.
Я новенький.
I'm the transfer student?
Мне вот сказали к вам
I was told to
подойти.
come here. Snowy forest trail was winding in front of my eyes. Pines rustled, but it didn't sound predatory anymore. She buried herself in the register and flicked through the
А
pages.
фамилия-то как?
Your last name?
Петров.
Petrov?
Громче говори.
What are you mumbling
Чего
there?
мямлишь?
Say it clearly.
Петров.
Нет такого.
You're not on the list. She measured me with a long and heavy stare, as if trying to see if I was lying. Wanted to sink through the floor. Hazy faces observed all of that from the left. Classroom breathed and snorted in unison like a living organism, like a dangerous
Ты не
beast.
ошибся?
Are you sure?
Нет такого в списке.
I don't have you in my register. My knees chose the worst time to start shaking, and I felt dizzy. Clutched my fist so hard my knuckles became
Мне
white.
сказали,
They
204
told me to
кабинет,
come to the
Лилия
classroom
Павловна,
204
6 В.
to ask for Lilia Pavlovna, class 6C. Apparently everyone in the classroom took my words for some sort of joke because they were all laughing.
Что за бардак?
What's wrong with this school? Classroom fell silent. Kids hit their smirks for a better occasion.
Понаберут студентов.
Why do we hire so many
Только
interns?
знают, что губяки свои малевать.
They all know
А
how to
я
put lipstick
разгребать,
all
значит.
over their bulging lips, but when it comes to real problems, I have to solve everything.
А бумаги-то кто заполнять будет?
How did they send you
Не
here
первый
without
раз
any
ведь
proper
уже.
paperwork? Ugh, we've had the same thing happen so many times
Подожди
already.
здесь. Сейчас.
Wait here, I'll be back.
Сейчас я им устрою.
After I have a little chat with them. Teacher flew past me, mumbling something to herself in righteous anger, and I was left standing at the center of the classroom. Like a convict in front of a firing squad. I lowered my gaze, feeling the mocking stares from all around the classroom directed at me. I prickled my skin, danced on it like laser sights. Once again, I imagined running far away from this place, fighting the clawing wind soaring high above the pines in one long jump. With the wind in my back as my only companion, the eyes of my future classmates were asking, this new boy, is he one of us or an outsider? Somebody whispered something and stifled laughter rolled through the classroom.
Доску вытри!
Wipe the board! It was easy to guess who was the main prankster here.
Эй, очкарик!
Hey, Four
Ты
Eyes!
чё, не только
Are
слепой,
you not
но
only
ещё и
blind but also
глухой?
deaf?
Доску вытри,
I said,
говорю!
wipe the board! My knees weren't the only shaking part of my body anymore. I was trembling from head to toe, and I prayed for the teacher to come back sooner. My prayers were answered by the powers that be.
Ну что мне с тобой делать?
And what should I do with you now?
Куда сажать, а?
Where will you sit?
Давай-ка сядь,
Oh,
наверное,
well,
с
you can sit with
Семёном.
Simeon, I guess.
Он все равно один.
He's alone anyway.
Ещё чего?
No way! The kid put his backpack on the seat beside him in defiance, scratched his belly, and smirked.
Ты опять за старое?
Hey, back to your old tricks!
Снова бабушку в
Should I
школу
call your
вызывать?
grandma here again? Classroom went silent.
А чё она мне
And what's
сделает?
she gonna do?
Не она, так я
I'll
тебе
be the one to do
сделаю.
something if she doesn't.
Рюкзак убрал
Put away
быстро.
your backpack now. Simeon didn't move a muscle. He started studying the portraits of writers on the wall, looking bored. I needed to do something, to resolve this somehow, to save
Yeah.
myself. I cleared my throat and continued in a stifled voice that sounded nothing like me.
Я могу за последнюю парту сесть.
I can sit in the last
Там,
row.
кажется, свободно.
I think there's a free seat. Teacher snorted loudly. She looked at me, then at Simeon, then back at me.
Ладно,
Fine.
садись пока
Go
туда.
there for now.
А с тобой, Бабурин, мы
And
еще
you,
поговорим.
Baburian? I'll have a talk with you
Чтобы
later.
подошел после уроков.
Come to me after classes.
Будешь по классу
You'll
дежурить,
be on
ясно?
cleaning duty. Got it? Simeon forced out a twisted smile. Juicy pimples were growing on the tip of his nose, ripe for the taking. Please don't describe as pimples. I watched carefully, afraid to stumble and fall, causing another outburst of laughter from everyone. I took my seat at the back, at the last table, where I was met with a pile of old posters. The outcasts took their seats and the class was ready to start.
Вот и хорошо.
Now this is
Начнем
settled.
урок.
Let's start the class. Not ripe pimples, not juicy pimples. Hold on. I have Lamia in my lap and I want her to stay, but I can't feel my legs now. You have put my legs to sleep, sleepy baby. Kitten. Can I just hold you up the once? To show you off to everyone? Look at you. My good, good baby. Here you go. My good snuggly baby.
Тема. Традиции русской и мировой литературы в рассказе Зощенко «Не
We all
надо
love
врать».
Lamia here. Today's theme is traditions of Russian and international literature in Zoshenka's Don't Lie. The kid turned back to me. His stare informed me of the coming days, weeks, and months of bullying. Got my eyes on you, said his watery look. After just a couple of periods, I had already noticed a huge yellow spit stain in my notebook. Then at the cafeteria, this Semyon accidentally spilled a glass of compote on me. And then he flailed his hands around after exiting the toilet so some of the liquid from his hands would get on me. Just before the final period for today, Semyon pushed me into a buzzing crowd of girls from our class. Oh no. They made way, cursing, but I couldn't hold my balance and ended up ramming my face into the girl I took for the class rep before, right in her chest. Ow! I immediately stepped back, dying from embarrassment.
Прости, ты в порядке?
I'm sorry, are you alright? Then she suddenly put her hands on her hips.
Нет, ну вы
Will
посмотрите
you
на
look
него.
at him?
Облапал меня
Groping
прямо
me
у
in front of
всех на глаз.
everyone.
Я сейчас всё
I'll tell your
маме
mom.
расскажу. Тебя из школы выгонят,
They'll expel you,
извращенец.
pervert. There was some sort of sadistic pleasure in her eyes, as if she was a child who was about to put a lit-up match to a chaffer beetle?
Я нечаянно. Меня
I
толкнули.
didn't mean to. He pushed me.
Все видели.
We
Цветы
all saw that,
среди
you know.
нас
No
нет.
blind among us. She stared at my glasses while showing me a creepy smile. I started to fume on the inside, but Semyon's laugh cooled my head. Excuse me. Sorry.
Толкнули? Чё,
I
правда?
pushed you? You sure? He swaggered up to me, enveloping me in a smell of sunflower seeds and rotting teeth, and then pushed me to the ground.
Вот так, да?
Like this, huh?
Чё ты
What you gonna do
сделаешь?
now? I'm gonna beat the shit out of him. The bully towered over me as if saying, come on, hit me. Let me see you try. I do vaguely remember this, and we chose to hit him, and we're gonna do it again. We will always choose to hit this kid. We're gonna fight back. Fuck you.
Слушай, ты...
Listen, you. My throat went dry, my lips were moving on their own, and my voice was akin to a stifled squeal. Semyon wore a mocking smile.
Давай, продолжай, очкарик.
Go on, Four Eyes.
Всё прямо-то.
Why did you stop?
Нам
We're all
всем
waiting.
хватит. Если ещё хоть
If you ever
раз меня
touch me
тронешь,
again... Semyon slowly stuck out a finger and poked my forehead.
натронул.
I did, so
Ещё-
what?
Ещё хоть раз
If you ever do it again...
тронул.
Here,
А вот
once
ещё.
more.
И ещё.
And again.
И ещё.
And again.
И
And
ещё.
again. He was poking with his finger so hard that my head tilted backward. I must not cry, or I'll be done for.
Чё ты мне
What will a
сделаешь,
wimp like you
ням?
do to me? My vision went blurry. My soles tore off from the floor. I rushed forward and threw a random punch without looking.
Ха!
Very good. What I saw when I opened my eyes was beautiful and horrifying at the same time. Semyon was holding his ear and blinking in amazement. Was I the first person to rebel against his absolute rule?
Стопэ.
Лена,
I needed to run, but I was already surrounded by his cronies.
Лилия Павловна,
Lilia Pavlovna, Pavlovna,
Бабурина ударил.
Petrov just hit Baburin. Semyon's streak grew even redder, and his pimples went pimples even wider, like the heads of larvae. Stop. But a smile flashed on his face that was only noticed among his comrades. He got really close to me. The smell of rotten teeth washed over me.
тебе
You
пиздец.
are fucking done. His voice was evil and dangerous, like someone tore off the lid from a kettle with boiling fat. I was waiting to get hit, counting the thumps of my heart and guessing where his fist will go. Solar plexus, the jaw, the nose? But he just turned around and walked off. A thought, cold and sober and extremely rational, popped up in my head. I'm going to get killed today. Well, it's nice knowing you, Anton. I was late to leave the school after classes on purpose. Semyon didn't attend the last period, so I was hopeful. What if he decided to dodge the cleaning duty and ran home, forgetting all about me? Snow boots! Nice. Queen approved snow boots. I heaved a sigh of relief, like someone on death row whose execution was delayed by a day. But I didn't let myself forget his tone, his vengeful gaze, and his scary, electrified smirk. While the other students were leaving the school, laughing loudly, I was pretending to skim through my books near a window. I was staring outside, nervous. Semyon was nowhere to be found in the front yard or near the school gates. I didn't really believe I was this lucky, so I decided to be extra cautious and stay for some more time in the corridor that was gradually getting less crowded. All of the bustle moved to the first floor. There was a skeleton peeking out of a biology classroom. Some jokester put a cap with the American condor on its head. The sound of running water were coming from the bathroom. I was the only person left in the whole school. Not alone. A sudden thought came to mind. I remembered the missing boy. His portrait was on the notice board near the schedule. I remembered his smile. Him looking at me. This is different than what the picture was originally, right? Because, like, the cat had eyes. The cat did have eyes. And the fact that he's most likely already dead. Hello? I shuddered and turned around. Oh, right. We've got this awful bit. At first, my eyes stumbled upon the black violin case. Then I noticed a girl from my class was holding it. Hi, girl. She sat in the first row of the second column. I could swear I caught her looking at me a couple of times. And I was sneaking glances at her myself. Sometimes it just feels nice to look at something pretty. The spring, the sky, or a girl that's not in the crowd that laughs at Semyon's jokes. And she wasn't whispering the dirty laundry of other people to Katya. She spent all of the breaks just like me, staying in the classroom or looking in the window or drawing something in her green notebook.
Здравствуй.
Hello. I turned red and pretended I was studying the pattern on the wooden floor.
Круто ты ему врезал.
It was cool, the way you hit him.
Это вышло случайно.
It was just an accident. Almost. I started shoving books in my backpack to at least put something in my hands.
Вроде Семён раньше таким не был.
Samuel wasn't like that before.
Он к нам недавно
He also transferred here just recently.
Бабушка мне его по секрету
His
сказала,
grandma
что он
told me
словно
that it almost felt like
взбесился.
he went mad.
Семёна даже
Even the upper
старшеклассники
class,
побаиваются. Представляешь?
classmen fear Simeon now. Did you
А
know?
ты вот молодец.
But you're different.
Не струсил.
You're brave.
Угу.
Or extremely stupid. Both, maybe? Consider? I mumbled in reply. Yeah, right. Me? Brave? A hero that has been standing around in the hallway to avoid a beating. The girl looked at me with her clear, attentive
Ты
eyes.
за рекой живешь?
Do you live over the river?
В том деревянном
In that
доме?
wooden house?
Ну да.
Yeah.
Там, наверное,
Must be scary living
страшно.
there.
Да еще через
And
лес
you also have
идти.
to cross the forest.
Я бы так не
I wouldn't be
смогла.
able to do that. I shivered at the mention of the forest. Allie got the queen's boots. I thought of intertwining branches, of a snake-like trail, of endless darkness that spread like mold among the crooked trees. So I straight up lied.
Да не так уж там и страшно.
It's not that scary.
А что тебя так пугает?
What's so scary about it for you? She smiled after a brief pause, as if brushing off a daydream.
Да так,
Well,
ничего.
actually, never mind.
Меня, кстати, Полина
My
зовут.
name is Polina, by the way.
А меня Антон.
And I'm Anton.
Ну, это я
I already know
знаю.
that.
Слушай,
Hey,
Антон,
Anton? She stumbled, as if trying to decide whether she should continue.
а что ты делаешь после школы?
What are you doing after school? My chest felt prickly after her innocent question, yet somehow it felt pleasant.
Ничего такого.
Nothing much? I don't want to do the stupid dating sim nonsense. Hunter brands by endorsement. Noise, noise, noise. Queen says yes to these boots. Elisa's predatory smile flashed in front of my eyes. Her playful eyes and the slits of the mask were probably just a product of my imagination, though. Except they're not not a fishing date sim. No, no, no. Look, I can do Hatoful Boyfriend and stuff like that because it's goofy and weird and hilarious. I just want this to be all spooky all the time, not to be driven mad by a 12-year-old boy's hormones. Let's go! Get me out of here! There is probably a fishing dating sim. I would not be shocked. Also, hey TK, how's it going? But I'm not gonna play it. I'm not gonna play it. You cannot get me to play it. Won't do it. Also, I remember the last time that we tried to do this. Free. The last time that we were playing this, we were trying to figure out who Elisa was. Do we think it's Katya? 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 Okay, cool. Fish can give +1/+1 to all friends when it levels up. I still don't want to go fishing, though. And I definitely don't want to date fish. Excuse me. I'm sorry. What if that fox girl is waiting for me after the school? No, bad fish. Or was it another one of her weird jokes? I wonder if she's hiding a big red tail under her coat. Suddenly got covered with beads of sweat, like after a PE class. I wanted to take a shower as if just thinking of the foxy girl made me dirty, soiled my clothes, lured me into the forest's embrace. Can we not describe it like this? I also don't remember this description, and I am uncomfy.
У меня сейчас занятие, скрипка. А
I
потом
have
я
a violin,
свободна.
violin lesson, then I'll be free.
Дедушка мне
My
репетитор
grandpa hired
нанял.
me a private tutor.
Наш учитель
Our
музыки.
music teacher is a
Он же
violinist,
скрипач.
and he doesn't have anyone to
А
teach here,
здесь, в
except for
поселке,
me.
ему некому.
She waved her free hand in the air, imitating the movement of a bow on violin strings. I hate it. I hate it. Could almost hear the music. It chased Elisa out of my head. Yeah, this part was also rough, because it's just like, it was just so much thirst. It was unending thirst, and look, I'm here for thirst, but not for children, okay? We're just gonna get through it as fast as we can. I licked at Polina's lips, catching her every word, and was frozen from the unusual sensations. They were warm, soothing, and tingly. Felt like I was very small, and the feelings were immense, and they couldn't fit inside me.
Говорят, что у нас в поселке
You say there's a
маньяк
serial
завелся.
killer on the loose in the village.
Раньше со школы
Normally,
меня
Grandpa
всегда
would
дедушка
escort me home from
забирал,
school,
но
but
в
he's been
последнее
sick
время
lately.
ему.
I stuck a glance at Vova's photo. His eye wells were studying me. His lips were wearing black lipstick. Right, you are very small. Child, consider... Fruity. Fruity, this is a problem, buddy. Fruity, listen. Just like the portrait on the gravestone.
Ты не подумай, я не трусишка, просто...
I mean, I'm not a coward, it's just...
Просто мне кажется,
But
что
also
с
this
тобой
is
будет
a...
безопаснее.
Okay. Think I'll be safer together with you.
Антон,
Will you go home with me, Anton? Although I wouldn't blame you for playing that if it's just until we get through this part because it's rough. There it was! Finally, everything that I read about in the adventure books, everything that I dreamt about was seeping into my life. A mysterious crime, a beautiful stranger, and a heroic duel. Golden poop hat? A duel! Thinking of Semyon instantly sobered me up, returned me back to Earth, and it started shaking under my feet like a deck of a ship. Like the deck of a ship. If only I could rise to the occasion in front of Polina. Because no matter how brave I was trying to act, it was obvious for both of us that I wouldn't be able to stand a chance against a big guy like that. And him knocking me out won't even be the worst of it. The worst part of that, Polina will see all of that. Like a dick on a ship. I didn't. What did the captions say? What did the captions say? What did the captions say I say? Captions be on my side just this once. Like, and she'll laugh at me like everybody else. I'm just gonna keep moving on. I want to get through this, and I hate it. No, I don't need anybody to see me in such a shameful state.
сегодня вряд ли получится.
I doubt I'll be able to stay today.
Ты же знаешь, Семен, скорее всего,
You know,
караулит на
Semyon's
школьном
waiting for
дворе.
me
Лучше мне с
outside.
ним разобраться лично.
I need to deal with him one-on-one, like a man.
Глупости какие.
Nonsense. Polina brushed off some hair off her forehead, and I sensed a weak aroma of blackberry. Polina was like water when you were thirsty. You gulp it down, still wanted more. Please. When I said thirsty, this is not what I wanted. Truth is lost to history. Well, then we'll just default and say that I definitely said deck. I make the rules, so, you know, there's that. I remember the summer evenings at the country house, the fire's pungent smoke, the berries hanging over our fence from the neighbors, and a soft cover of pine needles under my soles. Those few peaceful days when I felt completely safe. My mom resting in the hammock, my dad putting meat on a skewer. Could I have foreseen the upcoming catastrophe in the crackle of the coals, in our parents' laugh, in the smell of the fleeting July? I'm glad you're cozy and me. Snuggle up, get comfortable. Could I have seen how fragile that world was?
Думаешь, этот дикарь будет честно драться?
Excuse me? Like a deck on a ship. How about duck? Like a duck on a ship. Is that acceptable?
Со своими дружками набросится
He'll
всем
just swarm
скопом,
you with his friends
опомниться
without
даже
giving
не
you a
дадут.
chance to catch a breath. Polina suddenly flashed a devious smile. I don't like this expression. A dick on a ship!
Но если мы
Fruity!
пойдем вместе, это их
Please!
ошарашит.
I am worried about you! But if we go together, they will be put off.
Я же не только первая скрипка
Not
на
only the
деревне.
first violin of this
Ещё и
village,
девочка.
but I'm also a girl.
Слышала от
I've heard
знакомых
from a delinquent I
хулиганов,
know
что
that he'll never
никогда
attack
не
someone
нападает
when
на
there's a
кого-то
girl
в
around.
присутствии.
Can you
Представляешь, у
imagine?
них кодекс
They have this
чести
weird code of
такой.
honor. 100% Fruity's still talking about super auto pets. Also, excuse me, I'm burpy. Delinquent, you know, I thought, worried. Super auto pets is our doom. Is he better than me? Taller? More handsome?
Ой, мне на музыку пора.
Oh, I have to go to music class. She made a couple of steps and stopped. Amazing. Lena didn't look like those beauties from the magazine posters or the actresses from the movies. But in the flickering light of the ceiling lamp, she looked much more alluring.
А ты играешь на чём-нибудь?
Our Fruity is broken. Oh no! Our Fruity! It's broken! It's not cute. Don't do it, Emmy. It's a trap. It's not. Don't do it. It's a trap. It's a trap. Don't do it. Can you play anything? My parents bought me a guitar a couple of years ago. Don't do it, Emmy. It's a trap. It's not good. It's bad. I immediately remembered my meager attempts at making music. I don't know. I know that those are supposed to be notes, but I don't know what they are. Change. We're all waiting for change. Zoe's song echoed my thoughts and my desire to change something. That guitar got lost somewhere, as if refusing to move to the old house near the forest. I think my parents gave it away to someone that needed it more.
Увы, не играю.
I don't, sadly.
Жалко.
Pity.
Ну ладно.
Oh
я
well,
побежала.
I'll be going.
Пока!
Bye. That's consider, Fruity, it took you 9.5 hours to be like, good game. Remember how you have to get through the first 9 hours of it before you're like, it's a good game? Her shout was captured by the loud echo. Her shoes also echoed through the school hallways. Bye. I wasn't sure if Polina heard me. I looked out the window again. The schoolyard was empty, just a couple of grade schoolers throwing snowballs at each other. Nobody who looked like the hulking Semyon with his cronies. This was giving me hope. What should I do? Polina could become my friend, first one in this new place. That's too many hours. Okay, no, I'm not saying that 9 hours is too many hours to play a game. I'm saying that if it takes 9 hours to get to the good part of a game, it's not a good game. Okay? Listen. Polina could become my friend, the first one in this new place. And besides, she may be in real danger of meeting a killer, and I'll be her defender. Her knight. And even though my inner voice was hesitant and whispered about running away from the killers, lurking in the woods at night, Polina was worth the risk. But the red cunning fox was also intriguing. She promised me to help look for Vova, and this will bring me a reward. More money will almost guarantee peace in my family. Gifts for Olya. I imagined my sister, happy like those girls who get prizes from Suponev in the finest hour. She'll be dancing with the famous singers, maybe a new popular boys band like Ivanushki International. Mom and Dad hugging in the Ostankino Pavilion. What the fuck? Brain. Yeah, 9 hours of beach pooping. It's fine. That's all you do in Ark is poop on a beach. Don't worry about it. And then all of us going to Disneyland. I'm just gonna pretend that me stuttering was not an issue. Turn me around and I'll tell you it's stupid. That something offensive is written on the other side. I wonder how long would Semyon keep turning it around if it fell into his hands. What can I look at? Somebody left their school shoes on the windowsill. Judging from their size, they belong to a boy my age. An abandoned zinc bucket with a rag on the bottom of it, filled to the brim with murky tap water. It reeked of salty chemicals, and the stench was so intense that I felt sick. I staggered away from it, praying that I don't meet the same fate as the person on cleaning duty. We're gonna go hang out with Elisa. Okay, listen. Listen. After closing my backpack, I ran down the stairs, because we like bad girls, and not fucking nerds. I like nerds. I do like nerds, but also Fox Girl. You listen. Listen to me, listen. Scanned my surroundings through the window in the main hall. Nobody suspicious in sight. School doors creaked. The sound was similar to the music from a thriller. The high note that comes before an intense scene. I ran around the school corner, trying not to catch anyone's attention. The smell of pastry and burnt sugar wafted from the school cafeteria. I froze when I saw a silhouette in the second floor window. It must be Polina, gliding a bow on violin strings with her head slightly tilted to the side. Wish I could hear the melody she played, but Polina was only a dark outline on the window's yellow sheet. I dragged my feet forward. We hate Polina. We're here for Fox Girl. It's time to get naked in the forest. So I'm like running out of water, and that's a bit of a problem. I thought I had more in here than I needed. Or I thought I had more in here than I do. Thank you, Emmy, for the contribution to the Sinner sandwich. Also, I'm gonna do this so you can kind of see the board while I grab more water. Look at it. Look at how beautiful it is. It's very good, and we like it a lot. Sleepy llama, I have to bury my head in your belly. It was hard, honestly, trying to figure out like how we wanted to cut things out, but I kind of liked cutting it around everything. It's good. It's very good. I need to fill my water bottle, I'm sorry. Just dump all that in there? I can! That was the perfect amount! Great! Yeet! It almost landed in Lamia's food. I regret my commitment to the bit. David, thank you for the contribution as well. Naked in a Forest, the sequel to Poopin' on a Beach. Poopin' on a beach, boop, boop, bada, boop, boop, poopin' on a beach, boop, boop, bada, boop. We are at 69%. Can we get a nice in chat? Thank you, Emmy. Thank you, Fruity. Nice! Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Luna. David, yes, yes, let's go. That's what that is, okay. The net on a football goal in the yard fluttered in the wind, the same wind that hurled small white whirlwinds through the field. Somewhere nearby, an invisible tractor was humming, scaring away the crowd of cawing birds. The hum of its engine sounded like the howls of a hungry beast that chased me through, the howls of hungry beasts that chased me through the snowy desert. Alyssa and her scary mask also came to mind. Right now, in the light of day, it was really hard to believe she was real. What did she say back then? At the backyard, near the hanged man. What did she mean by that? Definitely not this game of Hangman on the wall. Definitely not that at all. Also, there's the creepy man again. What can we look at? Can we look at the creepy man?
Извините.
Oh, his sounds! Excuse me? The silhouette turned around the corner and walked deeper into the dead end, leaving cigarette smoke in its wake. It was an adult. Teacher, maybe? Also, what is up with all these needles on the ground? Like, under the hanged man bit. A used syringe among the cigarette butts. Hope somebody just needed an insulin shot. It's definitely not what it is, kiddo. A forest squirrel chomping on sunflower seeds. Someone from the school is probably feeding her. interesting. It's Semyon, isn't it? I looked at the wall. There was a hanged man drawn under the thin black line of resin. Someone played the hangman here. Something was scribbled on both sides of the man. Escape, fear, truth.
Ближе, мой сладкий.
Come closer, sweetheart. Squirrel is definitely doing drugs. 100%. Never trust squirrels. Took me a while to realize where the sound was coming from. My eyes strolled through the cul-de-sac at the school backyard, through windows and snow. One of the snow piles started trembling like a volcano before it erupts.
Дай свое сердце.
Give me your hearts! In the blink of an eye, the white crust crumbled and a fox jumped at me. Never trust squirrels, they make shop food cook. Oh my goodness. Fruity. Hey, buddy. Hey, pal. Do you need help? If you need help, let us know. We're here for you, Fruity. And I'm concerned at how deep this whole Super Auto Pets thing is going. Alright? We're concerned about you. We want the best for you. And this is alarming, to say the least. Beware drugged squirrels, they're nuts. Fruity! Oh. Not their nuts. Anytime you want. Quit now. Quit now. Stop playing now. Thank you, David. Y'all. Fruity! You're a monster. You're an actual monster. She made a gracious bow and joined the effect her appearance had on me. The silver of snow shined on her coat. Couldn't even imagine that thinking about girls with tails can be this. Couldn't even imagine that thinking about girls with tails can be this. I don't know what to compare it to. Something infectious? Toxically sweet? Fight back or your heart is in my bag. She giggled so enthusiastically that it forced me to
Да
smile.
ну тебя.
Oh, come on. That's terrifying. She quickly rolled a ball of snow and threw it, I quickly rolled a ball of snow and threw it at Alyssa. She tried to dodge, but it was too late. A hit to the shoulder. You insolent boy!
Да, вот такой я.
Yeah, that's me. Fox slowly backed down, trying to arm herself.
Ты хитер, да
You
мы
are
хитрые.
sly, but I'm a fox.
Ловкий, да мы
I think out of the box. Her retribution was swift. The snowball arched its way above the snowy yard and the ravens flying in the air. I wanted to duck, but slipped and fell to my knees. While I was getting up, I caught a huge chunk of snow with my face. It burned up from the cold. I swore loudly from immense disappointment.
Блядь!
Using the words I heard in Sector Gaza's songs on the cassettes I hid from my parents. If Dad heard this, he would have definitely gave me a good whooping. Whipping, sorry. Dad, please, no. He had very low tolerance toward obscene words and always communicated in clean Russian.
Да ладно тебе.
Oh, come on.
Не больно же
You
совсем.
can't hurt that much. She brushed off my hood as if to show compassion, took me by the elbow and helped me get up. With care uncharacteristic for a child, she took off my glasses, blew away the snowflakes that were stuck to them, and handed them back.
Вот так.
Now we're even, Tosha. Only people who were close to me called me that. And I haven't even seen her real face, didn't know her last name, what class she was from, and if she had a real tail under her coat.
Желаешь отыграться?
Want to get ahead?
Мы хотели поискать Вову.
We were gonna look for
помнишь?
Vova, remember?
Лучше поторопиться.
We'd better hurry
Меня
before my
родители
parents
станут
start looking for
искать.
me. Fox let out a lazy yawn.
Родители.
Parents.
Как
Don't be
скучно.
so boring.
Давай чуть-чуть
Let's play for a
поиграем.
bit. You're always
Всё
bored
равно
at home
тебе дома
anyway.
А ты откуда знаешь?
And how do you know that?
Тоже мне тайна.
It's not even a
Со
secret.
взрослыми да
It's
в
always
4
way too boring
стенах.
being locked up in a house full of adults.
У меня от стены взрослых
I get all
нервный
jittery from both
тик.
houses and parents. See? Her furry fox brow started twitching. Faked a laugh in reply, unsure whether being able to move parts of her mask like that was genuinely funny or not.
Ну же, Тоша.
Come on, Tosha. Don't be scared.
Я же
I can
вижу,
see you wanna
ты
play.
Если
And if you win... Fox Girl got dangerously close to me and stood on her tiptoes, almost touching my face with her rough little nose. Playful fires danced deep in her eyes. She smelled nice, like berries and saccharine. Is this the smell of independence and true freedom? I mean, the kind where all you have to do in your life is run wild and eat sweets. Her whisper poured into my ear like scalding hot water. If you win, I'll be your guide. Believe me, I have lots of things to show you. We'll surely find your Vova for one. Felt as if a giant invisible spring bent inside me. My tummy hurt, but the sensation was somehow not exactly unpleasant. Please, child! It was so weird. I just had a conversation with Polina, and now Elisa was going to drag me along with her. Can we go and watch Peter Pan? We don't even like Peter Pan, from what I remember. We just humored our sister, because we love Olya. Because Olya is precious and deserves everything nice in the world. It felt like my mind was becoming blurry, splitting in two, like those gravestones on the TV record. And what if I lose? I'll claw out your soul, softy. This girl. Come on, let's go! She burst out laughing, whipped the hem of her coat, and ran toward the road we used to come to school in the morning. Her promise, that sounded almost like a threat, hypnotized me. I bent down and scooped up some snow. I wish I had a device that could tell whether Elisa was joking or being serious. Or is there always a third option with people like her? Between her jokes, her laughter, and her hot breath on my ear, I wanted to win. To punish her for the lightness and freedom she possessed that was clearly too much for an average girl. When I, on the other hand, was possessed, or rather intoxicated, by the thirst for adventure, by my curiosity. Just like that time when I ate the cherries from Mom's Nalivka? And lied down with my eyes closed while the bed was spinning underneath me. I spat and cleaned my lips. What is a Nalivka? A sweet alcoholic drink made from fruits and berries, often called berry vodka. Normally contains only 25 to 30% of alcohol. That's too much. How is this child not dead? I spat then cleaned my lips. Do you want to play, little sister fox? Well then, let's play. I armed myself with a snowball and chased the fleeing fox girl. I saw a familiar street with a wooden post that didn't look scary anymore. They were just logs, covered in snow. If I were to shout now, the guard dogs would start barking and their owners would peek out of their windows. Elisa's small silhouette was mocking me from far away, so it was useless to try hitting her with a snowball for now. Waste of ammunition. That's still too much! Birches, mutilated by the cold, peeked out to view along the clear road. Giant snow piled toward near one of the trees. This was probably the place where the tractor brought all the snow from the village. A whole family of foxes would fit in such a pile. No, I thought, she's the only fox around here. She alone is already too much. Pupper. My second morning acquaintance was running around near the edge of the forest, a stray dog with a mangy tail. She sniffed around and marked the naked berry bushes and ran toward the other ones. Alyssa showed up from under the hill. Julka, follow me, girl. The dog's ears perked up, barked in agreement, and followed her lead. We ran further and further, exchanging snowballs, laughing and stumbling. The winter forest towered in front of us, reaching for the low clouds. We were at the edge of its shadow, bony and almost... The fox hid behind a huge pine, clearly trying to get close to me and shove some snow down my collar. It was a good plan, but Zulka, who was running circles around her, gave her away. Broke off a dry branch and decided to act even trickier. I put my hat on it and peeked it from the side of the pine. I'll make her think that it's my head. I bit my lip to stop myself from laughing, then jumped out from the other side and performed a point-blank throw. Birdie, please. Elisa probably cracked my plan right away, but still let me win 3-1. I was wounded in the leg and she got shot in the chest and the stomach, losing imaginary blood in front of my eyes. Bleeding for mercy while also choking from laughter. Please, mercy! I'm dying! Okay, I'll let you live. Thank you, oh valiant knight. She pretended to bow to me, then grabbed 2 full handfuls of snow and, like a dying warrior, threw them my way in a last-ditch effort. I dodged her attack easily. Laughing uncontrollably and being mad at the same time, I finished her with 2 precise shots.
Живи.
He'll let me live, huh?
Научил бы меня жить, разумно
Learn me how to do it if you're so smart.
Молчи, ты умерла
Shut
уже.
up, you're already dead.
Тоже мне помеха.
When did that stop
Давай
me?
сыграем в
Let's play
кое-что
something
поинтереснее.
more interesting. She danced behind the trees after blowing snow in my direction.
Раз, два,
1, 2, time to play with you.
три,
3,
четыре,
4, 5,
пять.
the
Время
owl will
поиграть.
arrive. I hesitantly moved toward the windfall.
Шесть, да, шесть.
6 on end, the wolf's gray fur will stand. I thought I was a real tail gliding across the bushes. I rushed to the intertwined branches that helped Elisa to hide as if nothing was pulling me there. I had to move them, tear them off like spiderweb. Branches sprang back in my face, but it felt like they were caressing my cheeks and not hitting them. I was sweating, but still had a lot of stamina left. I'll make sure to catch you, little fox. Elisa's voice was wandering among the windfall.
7, 8, бьем копытом озимь.
7, 8, stomp your hooves and wait.
А я тебя не
Seems like I underestimated you.
Думала, ты просто...
I thought you were just a boy. Confident that she was behind the dry pine, I rushed to intercept her. But the local acoustics tricked me. Her voice was already echoing from the other side.
Зайчик,
And you're a bunny.
шустренький,
So nimble,
хороший.
so cute. A snowball flew at me from the shadows, whistling near my
Я тебе
ear.
дам, зайчик.
I'll show you a bunny.
Дай мне зайчика,
Yeah, do that. Show me. A bright fox fur coat flashed near a rotten stump. I rushed there, jumping over a ravine.
Зайчик, выходи скорей.
Bunny, show yourself.
Мясом
Be
накорми
brave.
зверей.
Give the beasts fresh meat they crave. This furry collar that flashed from every tree was the most important thing in the world for me. My lips started trembling, as if I was a cowboy that was chasing his prey. One jump and the fox was in my embrace, so smooth and desirable.
Ой, всё, всё,
Fine,
всё,
fine, you win.
отпусти.
She leaned against the scratchy bark and started puffing.
Пожалуйста, давай
Please,
немного
let's have a
отдохнем.
break.
Ты слишком быстрый.
You're too fast, too strong,
Слишком
too
сильный.
tasty. Satisfied, I put my hands on my sides, waiting for the spoils of war from the defeated girl. But what I got instead was a sly snowball on my smug face. Cunning Fox ran away, roaring with laughter, but I wasn't even mad about it. I needed to catch up to Elisa, to tackle and subdue her. Tear off her mask and see everything.
Бедный зайчик.
Poor little bunny jumps around,
Возле мокрой
in the wet pine
сосен
forest,
страшно в
afraid of
лапы
getting
волк.
eaten by the big gray
Все
wolf.
думает о лете.
Thinking of hot summer, keeping his ears low,
На небо
sneaking glances at the
косится.
hidden sky. Sky really did disappear under the trees. But she was Old Man Jenkins the whole time. Of course she was. Of course she was. Come on. I moved using the barking of Zulka as a guide since she was closely following her owner, and I was getting close. The same trail I imagined back at school blinked under my feet. Turned out that running like there's no tomorrow was so easy. Faster, higher, faster. I felt like there was a well of untapped potential inside me, and I drew from it. My muscles were buzzing, my lungs felt bigger, and I felt much stronger overall. Even my vision became sharper. I saw every icy branch, every dent in the bark. Something colorful was lying near the bushes. A piece of clothing. Another colorful spot to the right. Elisa was losing her clothes on the run, like shedding her skin. I also used my teeth to take off my mittens, excited by all that. I'll get naked and feel all the wind to the last drop. Faster. I reached out to take off my hat, to throw away everything that stops me from running wild in the endless forest. Here we are, getting naked in the forest. I think this is what happens when you get hypothermia, kid. I think you're dealing with hypothermia right now, Anton. The backpack slowed me down, so I threw it in the snow along with all the pens that were inside, all the notebooks, all of my drawings on the sidelines, and the dinosaur for Olya. Olya. Suddenly, a clear picture appeared in my mind. My sister, standing still near a window, basking in the dusking sun. Her small, childish palms are pressed to the glass, leaving marks when they warmed it up. She could warm up the whole world like that. She's looking at the taiga and saying my name.
Тоша!
Tosha! I stopped, took a deep breath, and realized how rash and stupid I was trying to undress in the middle of a forest while chasing a fox. I returned to get my backpack as if it was a part of my being I dropped. I remembered again how my sister didn't like to be left home alone, how she asked me to come home faster. What kind of brother am I? Burning in the forest that I used to scare my sister with? having fun while she's not even allowed over the doorstep. Sit in your cage, Olya, and watch the same cartoons over and over.
Тоша!
Да, Оленька.
Yes, Olya?
Тоша, а куда?
Where are you? Hold on. Excuse me. Ugh.
Куда так скачешь, чмошник?
Where are you hopping to, fucker? Olya, please. From the darkness behind the pines, just like cavemen from their cave, appeared smirking Semyon with a bunch of his cronies.
Ну, здорово, Антошка.
Also, the North fake is what this man's jacket says. Yo, Antoshka.
Не
Thought you
вышло
could
с
slip
Дрыстом,
away,
да?
huh?
Очкарик,
Check out this four-eyes freak, eh? They surrounded me like a carnivorous pride, making me step back. The smell of sweat and tobacco attacked my nostrils. The inside of my mouth felt salty, as if I'd licked a battery.
Алиса!
The name of my companion turned into a stifled cough. Pines were saying back and forth like solemn guardians. I was frantically looking everywhere. I dreamt of finding that fox among the trees, expected her to come to my rescue. But only the wind replied to my pleas.
Где Алиса?
Where's Elisa?
Что вы с ней сделали?
What did you do to her? I shuddered after hearing my own voice. It sounded unnatural, rough and scary.
Какая еще Алиса?
Who the fuck's Elisa?
У тебя чё?
Did you hit your head?
Не ссы,
Whatever,
ща
we'll
вмиг
fix you
вылечу.
right up. The kid spit through the gap in his teeth and pushed me so hard that I hit my back against a
А
tree.
как,
So,
полегчало?
feeling better now? It can't be. Did Elisa really lure me into this trap? To these bastards? No. No, I can't believe this.
Глядите-ка,
Oh, no.
пацаны.
Looky
здесь
here,
не
guys.
такой
Not so
борзый,
brave
как
here
в
compared to
школе.
the school.
Ага.
Total limp, eh?
Ты, сука,
You fucked with the wrong
приезжая.
guy, transfer
Не на та-
student. Simeon was moving toward me, readying his fist. In that moment, the other delinquent in track pants made a loud whistle, and the hulking boy lowered his hand. It was unexpected. Seems like Baburin wasn't the leader of this gang. Tear off her mask, revealing late-stage capitalism. Oh no. Not that he cocked his fist back. Oh no. Please. Please. Ernest will haunt us for the rest of our lives, won't he? Oh no. In reality, they were all listening to the boy who was looking like a small carnivore with very strong and sharp teeth. Probably decided to have some fun at my expense first.
Слышь, Гондон Батькович,
Ugh.
это что ли твоя
Is this your
Алиса?
Elisa? Oh no, Zulka! Double-barreled whisper still only halfway. I think we're gonna remain halfway. I don't know if we're ever gonna read it again, Fruity. Only then I noticed Zulka beside my legs, trembling from the cold, snow plastered all over her fur. The delinquent squatted in front of the dog and beckoned it with its hand.
Ой, ты батюшки.
Oh my.
Алиса,
Elisa,
ко мне,
come here,
сучка
you flea-ridden
блохастая.
bitch. The others let out nasty laughs. The dog's ears perked up and she started carefully moving closer.
Иди сюда.
Yeah, come
Иди,
here.
иди,
I've got
дам
something for you.
кое-чего.
Puppy. Dog didn't even have a chance to sniff him when this animal abuser caught it by the ear and kicked it right under the tail so hard it flew into the nearest snow pile, squealing. I don't think the dog dies, though. I vaguely remember us finding the dog later. Whole gang burst out laughing and my heart got encrusted in ice. Even the birds that were perched up in the tree branches let out frightened caws. I hate these kids, though. Are we ready to just do a murder? Let's do a murder. At the edge of my vision, I saw something flash in the illusory twilight of the sleeping forest. Or was that just bushes moving their icy branches in the wind?
Ромка,
It won't be able to shit after this. We need to make does the dog get eaten? Oh no.
Давай теперь
We
я.
kick the fucking thing one more time.
Второй
No.
раз.
Two
Я
negatives will make a
попробую.
positive. But the stray was already nowhere to be seen.
Чего ты,
What, are you an
баран?
idiot?
Толкуй его на
Go and show the
очкарику,
Four
где
Eyes
его
his
место.
place.
Только так, чтобы он
In a way,
понял.
he'll understand.
Ага. За
Yeah,
ним
he fucking
конкретно.
owes you.
Этот очкарик
That's
тебе
what
при всем
whacked you in
классе
front of the
всё.
whole class.
Да без Б.
Sure thing. Get your stupid ring out of here. Semyon brought a sizable signet ring with some geometric shape carved in it up to my face. In a moment, I'll hit your face so hard it'll leave a mark for the rest of your life. Where did all of my inner strength and bravery go? Stop! A wizzy whisper left my lips and my head tilted forward, hitting Semyon's fist. Red sparks flew from my eyes. Yasha, give him a hand. Semyon gave me a rough push toward the bastard with the slanting eyes, and he tripped me. I fell on a sharp crust of ice, and the kid stepped on my hand, preventing me from getting up. A painful groan escaped my throat. Did you hear him whimper? Unnecessary. Started to lose breath from anger and resentment. The pain was growing. My ear was hot and pulsating. Pain was shooting through it, like it was cut off and a ball of nettle was sewn in its place. Why so silent, Antoshka? Come on, tell us! At this moment, I felt pure, unbridled rage, the amalgamation of my anger. Like the Sprout's ink, it rose up from the depths of my mind, filling all my thoughts. Morons! Did you know that my dad... Oh no. Semyon's burst out laughing. This became the last straw. Fear and anger were grappling inside me like mad dogs. He knows Aikido. Got it? And he's a vet. He'll kill the likes of you with his eyes closed. One word from me and he'll... Romka lifted up his arms, stopping my torrent of lies, and made a couple of steps forward. Semyon slowly backed off, giving me an opportunity to stand up. Did he believe me? My dad's demo dick, and he's gonna... I don't know. He's gonna demo your face or something. Did he believe me? Or was he confused by my face, twisted with rage? A vet, you say? My dad also fought in the war. In Afghan. And yours? Mine too. Oh, really? What? I'm not gonna say that to a child. It's not gonna happen. We'll demo your house or something. I'm gonna beat these kids to a pulp is what I'm getting at, basically. No, really? And what force did he serve in? It's true. He's full of shit, Romka. Sure as fuck, eh? Did you think I'm so easy to trick? I can see through all your lies, little bitch. There was a nasty smile on his face now. This didn't bode well for me. Well, you've asked for this. Teacher saved you at school, but here... You're fucked. That's right. Pray that they find your dead body come spring. If only you stayed silent, wouldn't have lost a hair. Hitting this kid is one thing. Give him a good pounding, Sioma. The delinquents closed in on me again, and I ended up in front of Semyon. Blood was pumping in my temples. Branches were swaying back and forth, as if whispering something giving me hope. I gritted my teeth, fighting the thought that I looked silly, and took a boxing stance I often saw in the movies. What are you, fucking Mike Tyson? This was my first ever fight. I'll remember for the rest of my life. If I don't kick the bucket, of course. At the edge of my vision, I noticed the darkness writhe again, as if someone was walking back and forth there. I sensed Roma's claws grab my backpack. Give me your shit, Antoshka. It'll get in the way. I was about to refuse, unwilling to cooperate with the bastard, but then he fished a butterfly knife out of his pocket with one smooth motion, spun it as if to show off, and put the blade to my neck. I let out a cloud of steam instead of words. Ronka pulled with all of his might, and my backpack ended up in his hands. Calm and relaxed. An insidious smile on his face. He looked into my backpack. Are you hiding something from us? Some rat stole my school shoes. Oh, you're the idiot who left your shoes at home. Or at school. And what's this? Ronka gave a dubious smile. Not the bunny scissors. So what do we have here? My text and notebooks fell in snow. He was holding my backpack in one hand and something weird in the other. It looked like... A mask. Roma lifted it high as if showing to someone else, to someone in the treetops in the twilight among the trees. An old bunny mask. Long, worn-out ears, barely visible nose and whiskers, mangy fur on the sides. Where did it come from? Who put it in there? Simeon left.
Новый год уже
It's my
прошел,
past New Year's, moron.
Или ты реально
Or are you really a
поехавший?
loony?
Это не моё.
It's not mine.
Как не твое,
How come it's
Твоё
not?
портфеле
It was in your
недавно.
backpack. Romko was watching the scene unfold with an evil smile on his
А знаешь
face.
что?
You know what?
Надевай.
Put it on.
Зачем?
Why?
Надевай, говорю.
Because I'm telling you to.
Попрыгаешь перед нами.
You'll hop like a bunny for us.
Давай, давай.
Yeah, come on.
Или без штанов домой
Or
пойдем.
we'll leave you pantsless. Anything but this. What if someone from our class will pass by?
Надену.
I won't.
Сёма,
Yama,
надень-ка на
put it
него.
on him. Yasha rushed to his friend's side and took the worn-out mask from him with a buffoonish bow. Then he passed it to Semyon, who was already rubbing his hands in anticipation. I looked around the pine woods, as if waiting for help, as if the shadows that writhed around us would take pity on me and take my side. Branches looked like arms, twisted at unusual angles. Blackened bark was their charred skin, and the darkness was the smoke they produced. I can't run, won't get away. They'll catch me. And then...
Только учти, Сёма,
Let me warn you, Sioma.
если он скакать не
If
станет,
you won't
ты
hop,
сам за
you'll
него
take his place,
подскочишь.
got it?
Этот чмошник и не
Piece of shit
станет.
won't?
Да поглядя на
Just
него,
look at him,
он
he's a
же
total
дурик.
loony.
Этот дурик
This
тебе
loony had
уже
already
раз
smacked you with a
жбан
face.
Ромка прав.
Romka's right.
Давай, толстый.
Come on, kid, assert your fucking
Восстанавливай
dominance.
авторитетно.
заявил. Или сам у нас
Or we'll make you
запрыгаешь,
hop
так
so
что
hard you're...
тетяндра
Oh, no.
отцепится.
He must indeed be scared of Romka. Semyon swore silently and glared at me.
Вот.
Here,
Это чтобы маска
it'll fit better
хорошо
this way.
налегла.
Gross. He hurled a huge ball of spit on the inside of the plastic bunny face and put it close to mine. His spit looked like a squashed spider. Romka's face twisted. He spasmed like a beast. Like he wanted to tell Simeon something, but then he suddenly stopped. Simeon was still close by with a disgusting smirk on his face and a terrible smell coming from his mouth.
Надевай, брат.
Put it on, fast, or you're
Отурой.
dead. The mask almost looked even more disgusting now, yet despite everything, it felt like it was a chance for salvation. It could become my second skin. If only I was to put it on, if only my face was to touch its bumpy surface. I'm sure the fur will glitter, the ears will tremble like they're alive. I just need to put it on and Simeon and his friends will be gone. Forever. Is that how that works? I think we told him to fuck off last time. Which, to be fair, is kind of what I want to tell him again. For some reason, Romka's disappointment with Semyon had made me feel brave. Something was wrong in their crew and some old disagreement. I should cut this wound open. I need to get into their heads, right into their skulls, their warm brains.
Знаешь что, Семён?
You know what, Semyon? My own voice, smooth and determined, was a huge surprise. Stepped forward and calmly proclaimed,
Иди нахуй.
"Fuck off." Felt like the whole world was paused for a second and then unpaused right away. Simeon's pupils widened. Mask fell out of his meaty hands. It took a while to process my words, looking stunned, as if he was trying to solve a difficult math problem, but the answer he got made him mad, judging by the bulging veins in his forehead. The others just observed the scene silently, waiting for the inevitable payback. You're dead! His voice tore off icy crust from the nearby branches. It rained down with a melodic laugh, and then I heard whispers from the treetops, from holes in the ground, from animal lairs. As if Elisa was in one of the snow piles, like a prompter in his booth, trying to get through to me. With no sign of fear, rather with a tinge of playful rage, that's how this low hum sounded to me. I stared into the clearing between the trees. An orange spot flashed there. A fox, an absolutely regular fox, stepped out of the bushes. I blinked in bewilderment. The animal fell on its tummy and was staring back at me with its burning eyes. Its furry tail was sweeping snow left and right, grazing the white powder.
На меня смотри,
Look at me,
падла.
bitch! I was still looking past him at the fox that was smiling at me. She grinned with all her teeth while digging a hole in the snow pile, moving her paws as if dancing. sharp face was covered in snow. Her whiskers were trembling. Fox put her face to the ground. Shining platters of her eyes filled up with liquid silver. I returned my gaze to Simeon's face. He was growling something unintelligible. These noises, though. The fox backpedaled and disappeared into the darkness, and the forest breathed at me, whispering, "Tell the pig to shut up." Slapped my own cheek to chase away the unfamiliar voice, but the message still lingered in my subconscious. This hint was my chance. Stared intensely at Simeon's nose. He was almost oinking from anger. I directed my words at him.
Заткнись, свинья.
"Shut up, pig." Simeon looked paralyzed, as if the medium Alan Schumacher hypnotized him, stripped him of his will. Felt the aftertaste of Elise's gum in my mouth. Berries. Felt like I pulled a card from some greasy deck and it turned out to be a trump. My brain was at its limit. Polina's words about Simeon getting worse since he moved here flashed in front of my eyes like subtitles in a movie. All the pieces fell in place. My joker went flying into his pimply face. I was speaking slow on purpose, dragging out every syllable.
Есть у меня
I
подозрение.
suspect
Ты
that
не
you had a
просто
reason
так
to transfer
перевелся
to
в
another
новую
school.
школу. Сбежал,
You
да.
fled, right?
Как
Fled like a
крыса
rat.
сбежал. Потому что
Because
сверстники
kids can be
бывают
cruel
жестокими.
with those who are
С теми,
different.
С теми, кто толще
Who's
их,
fatter or
например.
weaker than them.
Слабее.
Right, the card analogy very much got away from us. The King of Spades is my new Joker card! We were at our brain limit. At least we didn't cock our arm back and then forget it was there.
И ты решил издеваться над другими.
So you decided to bully
Издевались над
others,
тобой.
just like they bullied you. I saw Simeon's Adam's apple twitch, like it was a pump-action rifle getting reloaded.
Ты отыгрываешься за старые обиды.
You're trying to get payback for the old wounds.
Хочешь казаться
You
тем,
want to
кем
pretend that
не
you're different
являешься.
now.
Но знаешь,
But you know what?
ничего не меняется
Nothing
по
changes at the
щелчку
snap of a
пальца.
finger.
Знаешь, кем ты
Should I
был?
tell you who you were? Forrest held its breath, listening in fascination.
Знаешь, кто ты
Should I
есть?
tell you who you still are? Guys? Yasha was about to come to his friend's aid, but Romka stopped him, whipping out his controlling look. Yasha turned around and put his hands in his pockets.
Продолжай, Тоха.
Go on, Toha. Romka's words ricocheted from the rough trunks.
Знаешь, кем ты будешь
Should I tell you
всегда?
who you will always be? Simeon looked around helplessly.
Второе имя,
Second
настоящее
name,
имя,
true
которое дали
name that your
тебе
classmates gave
одноклассники.
you.
Откуда?
Why do you... Romka and Vyasha looked at Simeon like he was their prey now. I even thought I saw them lick their parched lips. The wind was also full of anticipation, dragging my scattered textbooks across the road.
Свинья!
A pig. My thunderous scream echoed through the forest. Trees and ravines enjoyed it. The echo repeated it over and over, doubling, even tripling it. Thank you for all this super auto pet information that I will immediately dump out of my brain. We appreciate it, Fruity. But it sounds like pigs are useful. We like pigs here. Pigs are cute. Real talk. I like pigs. No. No, that's not what that meant. Romka grinned with all of his teeth. Simeon's hands fell to his sides. He was on the brink of crying. I used this to my advantage. Fucking decked him! I threw the strongest punch I could muster. It was much stronger than the one in school. I rammed my fist into his scarred face and it produced a cracking sound. His pimply cheek danced like jelly under my fist. Simeon let out a sigh and plopped on the icy road. He was touching the place where I hit him, still oblivious to what just happened and how did it come to this. After looking at him for a while, I realized I was smiling. Simeon returned to his senses and threw himself at me, his face twisted with anger. Oh, hiccups. But I dodged his charge quite easily after the great practice I had playing with Elisa. Oh, not the dog poop! He fell into the snow and landed right on a pile of dog feces. This made him squeal in agony.
Ай, красавец,
Attaboy,
Тоха.
Toha.
Думал, ты сосунок,
I
а
thought you were a
он как
wimp, but you've given
жердяю
the
делал.
kid a good whooping. Semyon started sobbing after he realized the direness of his situation. He landed on a dog of poop. Fuck! What will I say to Grandma? She'll kill me when she sees this.
Чего ты там
What are you whining about?
Тебя с парашей не
Head out of your
слышно.
ass. Semyon's futile attempts at cleaning his coat caused a fit of giddiness from Vyasha. I almost smiled. He angrily twisted my lips.
Мастёвина!
Lucky fucker, eh?
А ну вставай, скачи,
Hey,
как
get up and hop like a
зайчик.
bunny.
Только желательно
Just stay away
подальше,
from
а
us,
то
you
от
stink of
тебя уже-
shit.
Фу!
Ew. Boing. You guys. His eyes, red from tears, stopped on me? Oh, I understand. His eyes stopped on you. Didn't even have the time to erase that smile from my face when Semyon lunged at me like a hawk and clawed at my face with his twisted fingers, with gnawed fingernails. Threw a kick toward the layer of fat under the coat. At the same moment, the world became fuzzy. The black trees and the faces of my classmates all blurred.
А чё на это
How
скажешь?
you like that,
Ксюх?
bitch? Threw up a hand holding my glasses victoriously, but his triumph was short-lived. Two blurry silhouettes rushed forward. Sioma's former friends. Oh no. I heard the familiar sound of someone being slapped around. This is against the rules, asswipe.
Да не
Give
лезь
back the
назад.
oculars now.
Дерись по
Fight like a
понятиям.
fucking man, eh? Judging from Semyon's sighing and grumbling, he didn't agree to his friend's terms. What the fuck?
Ой, бля.
Ouch! Ow!
Ах, позор,
Betraying me
вы
for this
меня
piece of
променяли.
shit.
Да пошли вы
Fuck
в
you.
жопу,
Are we even
тоже
friends
мне
anymore?
друзья.
You were never friends, bud. I'm sorry. Huge figure tumbling in the snow barely managed to break out from the rain of punches and ran for the hills, dissolving into the twilight.
Завтра в школе тебя
Get you at school
выцепим,
tomorrow,
Хрюнь.
Porky.
Точно, точно!
That's right.
За базар ответишь,
You'll
на!
answer for this, eh?
Горло тебе
Cut your throat,
перережу,
you see? Or
слышишь?
you hear me? Ronka and Biasha started throwing pieces of ice at the fleeing Semyon, but then switched to hurling mockery.
Свинья!
The snow rustled. Two boys, clearly out of breath, approached me. I was finally able to make out their faces
Ой,
clearly.
очки.
My glasses... Ronka cursed under his breath.
Гандон этот
Fucker
стащил.
got him.
Зато мы ему
At least we
всыпали
whipped his
одну
ass real
сына.
good, eh?
Завтра вот
He'll come to school with a
с таким
shiner this
фуфелом.
big. Yasha let out a throaty laugh. Hyenas and the Lion King would envy a laugh like that.
Ну и дела.
Oh boy. Can
Ты
you
без
see without your
очков хоть
glasses,
что-то
Toha?
видишь? Немного.
A little bit? A hand holding a red rectangle protruded from the mist. Ronka was offering me a cigarette.
Прощайся.
My treat. Squinted, trying to make out the brand, even though I didn't know anything about cigarettes. I haven't tried smoking yet, and I didn't really want to start. I wonder if they'll keep hanging out with me if I won't adopt to their habits. After a moment of hesitation, I shook my head.
Спортсмен, что ли?
Into sports, huh? Ha.
А ты в глаза долбишься.
Are you blind or something?
Не видел, как он Семёна
Did
чётко
you see how
вмазал?
he thrashed Semyon?
Да базара
Real
ноль,
deal.
Mortal
Mortal fucking
Kombat.
combat was a terrible laugh. Facts, though. Not even like the good evil child kind of laugh. That was just like, kid, please stop. That was a bad laugh.
Плохо у нас Рокки Бальбоа.
Toha here is Rocky
Тогда уж и
Balboa.
вам драго.
More like Ivan Drago.
Курим одну на двоих.
We'll
гони
split
же.
this one. Give me a light. Romka pulled out a cigarette with his lips, and Biasha scrambled to find a lighter inside his
Toha,
pockets.
Чё я
So
сказать
Toha,
хотел?
back to what I was saying.
Не
Don't be mad,
держи,
bro.
мы тебя на вшивость
We were just
проверяли.
testing you.
А
I
то
mean,
очки
your
эти,
glasses
ещё
and
и
this
маска.
mask. Biasha lit a giant Bilisi? And Romka smacked his lips, taking a long puff off the cigarette. I have no idea
Меня,
what that
кстати,
is or
Ромка зовут.
how to say it, and I'm sorry. I'm Ronka, by the way. He squeezed my hand so hard that my fingers hurt. His palms full of dry, torn blisters implied that he wasn't wearing a tracksuit for nothing.
Это вот Бяша.
And this is Biasha.
Ты не очкуй.
Don't worry, we'll have to talk.
Со
We'll have a
свиньей
talk with Porky. He let out a cloud of smoke in my face, which instantly made me cough. Yeah,
Пойду пока сумку
I'll go
соберу.
gather my stuff. It's getting dark. About to pick up my now empty backpack and look for its contents, hoping that my new buddies will disappear when I turn around. But they just stood there, passing a cigarette back and forth. Two small silhouettes with a small light wandering between them, and with the pine trunks as the backdrop. They were waiting for me to finish picking up my textbooks while whispering something to each other. Romko was the one talking most of the time, though. Yasha was just constantly sniffing with his running nose and mumbling in agreement. At that moment, I saw that old, battered bunny mask from paper mache among the snow-covered notebooks. Gross. Gross, 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 gross. Its empty eye sockets could be filled with anything, with any eyes, but this mask looked like it only wanted me. Where did it come from, and why was it in my backpack? I picked it up with utmost care, as if it could bite off my finger at any moment. It was just a carnival mask with frozen spit on the inside. Still, something felt wrong about it. Something was writhing inside, underneath the layers of old newspapers. I could hear 1,000 tiny bodies rustle in the trembling fur. Something was trying to chew its way out. Gross. Maggots.
Готов, Тоха?
You ready, Toha? No, I'm just looking at my maggot mask. Romka's face pulled me out of my nightmarish delusion, and I threw the mask away in horror. Somewhere I won't be able to see it anymore. My innards were twisted from disgust, but I stood up, trying not to show it. Whether those maggots were real or just one of my delusions, I didn't care. Maggots. 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 All over the floor of the post office in Leytonstone. I can't speak anymore. I've been reading all evening. It's fine. Let me just continue to struggle all stream. It's fine. All of this was too much for a single day. I wanted to get home as soon as
Ладно,
possible.
пацаны, мне пора уже.
Right, guys, I need to
До
go.
свидания.
See ya. I held up my hand toward the two silhouettes to say goodbye. It's fine. I'm having a good time. My brain is just, like, shut down completely today. It fine. I held out my hand toward the two silhouettes to say goodbye. A couple of dark, thin lines trembled in front of me. They stood without moving, as if studying me.
С кедрами закорешиться решил.
Hey, decided to buddy up with a cedar?
Мы здесь вообще-то.
We're over here. I realized that Romka's voice is coming from behind and turned around, embarrassed.
Деревья хреновые, кенты.
Trees make for shit buddies.
Ты не ссы.
Relax,
Мы
we'll escort
тебя
you
до
home.
дома
You're as
доведем,
blind
а
as
то
a
ты как
newborn
слепой
kitten.
котенок.
Without
Как
us, you'll end
здесь
up dead
живем,
around
извини.
here. A cigarette butt hit against a stump with a flurry of sparks and started sizzling in the snow near my feet. Boys let out a strained laugh and took me by my arms. When we were leaving the clearing, I turned around in hopes to see Elisa. Or at least some orange dot. What if... but I only saw a rumbling tractor that was creeping out from the corner. There's the creepy man in the background again! Can I click on him? I can! A silhouette appeared on the side of the road out of the fog. We made space to let that person through. Because of my blurry vision in the twilight semi-dark, it felt like it was a ghost floating toward us. When the silhouette got close, I was able to make out the features of an adult man. I recognized his dumpy outline. He was smoking near the school in the morning. The man gifted us with a busy stare of his cold eyes and moved forward, disappearing into the darkness.
Нет горбата, а то дайте
A
губа.
huge hair lip. He's just looking for insulin. Shit's not cheap anymore. Thanks. Jacked up medical prices that don't need to be as high as they are. I was afraid that the unknown man will hear this offensive rhyme, but he was already too far away. We continued our journey. Please, I need insulin. For my family. We were going alongside a still fire road in silence. Silence felt depressing, coupled with my lack of vision, so I
А
spoke.
почему тебя Бяша зовут?
Why do they call you Biasha? The Buryat kid just smirked in reply.
Потому что я волк во
Because I'm a wolf in
истории.
sheep's clothing.
Брешешь.
Bullshit.
Пургу гнать? Это
Fucking
он
around is what he
умеет.
does best. Hi, Bunno! How are you doing? Thank you for the lurk!
А звать его так, потому что
He's got his
блеет,
nickname
как
because he
овца.
bleats like a sheep.
Всё после того, как из
Started after he
чёрного
returned
гаража
alive
живым
from the black
выбрался.
garage. Biasha's face contorted at those words. I could see it even though through the veil of blindness. I like how his face ducked into his hood. I love the animations in this game. He swayed. Started mumbling something unintelligible.
Видишь?
See?
С ним так всегда.
Happens every
как
time
об
someone
этой
brings it
херне
up.
заговоришь.
Ты сейчас о чем?
What are you talking about?
Ты серьезно
Did
про
you
эту
really not hear
страшилку
that
не
horror
знаешь?
story?
На черной
On one pitch
улице,
black street,
в черной
in a pitch black alleyway,
стоит
there's a
черный
pitch black
причерный
garage.
гараж. И он знает о
It
тебе
knows everything
все.
about you.
Где ты
Where you
живешь,
live, what you
что
like,
любишь,
who are
с
your
кем
friends.
дружишь. Наверняка слышала
I'm
о
sure you've heard
пропавших
about the
детях.
missing kids.
Это тут не первый год
This has been
происходит.
going on for a while here.
Все местные
The local
знают,
folk
кто
know who's
здесь
behind
замешан.
all of that.
Даже взрослые.
Even the adults.
Вообще,
You
везет
got lucky.
тебе.
You live
Ты
right
вон
on
в
the edge of
лесу,
the
считай,
forest.
живешь. Он к тебе так просто
Thing
не
won't come there
сунется.
without a good reason.
Тупо сечет, что среди
It
деревьев
knows that
будет
it'll look too
выделяться.
foreign among the trees.
А у нас эта хрень
Well,
может
in our
где
area,
угодно
this piece of
поджидать.
crap can hide anywhere,
Иногда в конце
be it at the end of an
переулка или
alleyway or near your
возле дома.
house.
А еще
Also,
идешь такой себе
you'll be
ночью,
just going somewhere at night and
он
bam!
стоит.
You
Где
see it
совсем недавно
in some
пусто
place
было.
that was empty just a while
Дверь
ago.
открыта.
Its door
Внутри
open,
мрак.
pitch dark
И
inside,
тут как?
and then Biasha pulled his cape over his head and started howling on a high, trembling note, trying to silence Romka.
Ладно,
Fine,
проехали.
forget it. I was trying to process Romka's story, but I couldn't figure out what to think of it. During the short time I've been in this snow-laden village, I realized one thing. A lot of people here had some sort of experience with something they couldn't explain. I looked at Biasha, who was pit-pattering to the side.
Тоха, а вот скажи,
Tell me, Toha,
нахрена
why the hell did
выпустили
you move
это?
here? I heaved a deep sigh while looking at my feet. Somewhere down below, the tips of my boots scooped up fog. I spoke words that I recited countless
У
times.
отца тут новая работа.
Dad has a new job
И мама
here,
в поселке
and my
раньше
mom used to
жила.
live here.
Давно еще при
Back in the
Союзе.
Soviet days. There's
Здесь
nothing
же
to do here
нечего
but rot
делать,
away.
только гнить. Ну или как
Or,
Бяша,
well,
по
like
лесам
Biasha here,
шастать.
wander around the forest. Biasha fearfully showed his face from under his hood, like a snail crawling out of its shell, and listened.
Он у нас турист.
He's a camper, see?
Летом целую
Spent a whole
неделю
week
в
in a tent
палатке
last
жил.
summer.
Здесь, рядом.
Here, nearby.
Прикинь?
Cool shit, right?
Хотя,
I mean,
от
with a
мамки
crazy old
его
woman like this,
звезданутый я
I'd
бы сам
also
в
flee
лес
to the
сбежал.
forest. We kept on going, but it felt like it was the forest, the forest was sliding by. Pines were the black keys, and the space between them, the white ones. The thicket was playing its old creaky melody, the melody of roots, bear caves, and forgotten taiga skeets. Snowflakes flew around, creating a disturbing illusion that somebody was wandering the forest. Somebody tall, unnoticeable, ready to camouflage as a tree or a snow pile. And then, when nobody paid attention anymore, they'd just continue moving along the road. But it was just a trick of the light. There was no one there. At least, I wanted to think that. Romka suddenly stopped and said,
Слышите?
Hear that?
В лесу кто-то бродит
Someone is
походу.
snooping around the forest. The skin under my clothes started itching. My stomach started aching. Look at the way Romka was pointing.
Высоченный, причем с нашей скоростью
Really
идет.
tall, matching our speed. There were no tall silhouettes behind the masts of pines. Just shadows creeping in the semi-dark. Slow shadows. Fast shadows. Hungry shadows. The snow that fell silently from the branch made me shiver and bite into my lip. As if something huge lifted off the tree and flew away. Maybe even toward us. Romka picked up a pine cone from the ground and threw it into the thicket.
Эй!
Hey! The shout ricocheted as if it hit a tightly spring drum. The echo mocked Romka. Then the silence reignited again.
Кто-нибудь видел?
Did you see that? I shook my head. The only things I could see were the vertical strokes of trees, the darkness, the snows, and the hazy silhouettes of my companions. I remembered the rough textured trunks, the spongy lichen, and the icy bits on the bottoms of the ravines.
Пойдемте скорее. а
Let's
то
move
вечереет.
faster. The sun is setting. I was again grabbed by the elbows and dragged along, toward the forest, toward the pointy spires of branches. The sun had finally sunk behind the green peaks. Darkness writhed, spread its shoulders, and started spreading like smoke. Started snowing. Thick, sticky flakes, white flies following the scent of dead meat. My vision had become a small island, washed by dark waters. I was grasped by the same worrying feeling I had in the morning. I felt that somewhere far away, at the edge of my comprehension, I heard a very calm and silent flute playing. The sound was fragile, like ice in March, above the dormant waters of a bottomless lake. It scraped inside of my ear with my finger, or I scraped inside of my ear with my finger to get rid of that auditory hallucination. The forest was silent. I imagined a child walking at night under the watchful eyes
А
of
вы знали
pines.
Вову Матюхина?
Did you know Vova Matyukin?
Мальчика, который пропал
The
недавно.
boy who went missing recently?
А разве мы не его ищем,
Weren't we
сладкий?
looking for him, sweetie? I shuddered and stopped, staring at the person who was guiding me. Annalisa, in her unchanging fox mask. The girl was gently holding my elbow.
Что ты здесь?
Why are
А
you...
ведь я тебя потерял.
I lost sight of you.
Потерял, потому
You
что
did,
зазевался.
because you were careless. I squinted in suspicion.
Давно ты за нами идешь?
How long were you following us?
Что значит давно?
What do you mean, how
Я
long?
всегда была
I was always by
рядом.
your side.
Да и за кем?
And
За
who?
вами.
Us. Stunned, I looked around but couldn't find Roma or Biasha. And then I felt her cold finger on my wrist.
Пойдем же.
Let's go.
Мы собирались искать
We were going to look for
Вову.
Volva. Without a chance to catch my breath, she started dragging me along through the forest. I was enveloped by the smell of tangerines, coffee, and firecrackers. I felt like I was a small kid again, being led into the unknown. Saw the dark silhouettes of trees ahead, and bushes, hedgehogs were wary, showing us their spikes. Something rectangular appeared in our way like a small box. It's a tragedy, really. I became petrified. Touched the edge of my eye, pulling back the eyelid as if I was trying to correct my vision. A garage made of metal rose up right from the windfall. Hold on a second. I feel like we're getting pretty close to the end of this chapter, so we might go a smidge over. I don't want to turn the voices off, but I don't want them to be as loud as they are, but I want to be able to hear them. Okay. A garage made of metal rose up right from the windfall. Is the sound still okay? It was big, no, huge, impossible to move without special equipment. Good volume for us? Okay. I think a jump scare is coming up within the next, like, 10 minutes or so, and those things are so fucking loud, so consider this your warning! It was big, no, huge, impossible to move without special equipment. Its walls were painted black, even blacker than the darkness around us. The fox sniffed around, and it seemed like her mask twisted in disgust.
Ты здесь.
This is the place. The worried voice of my companion scared me even more than this horrifying metal box. Here?
Я слышу его
I could
запах.
smell him.
Может,
Maybe
Вова
Volvo is playing hide and seek with us, and he decided to hide.
внутри.
Inside? Felt like I saw smoke form tentacles that split off the garage, searching for something in the wilted leaves. These tentacles slithered along the snowy blanket, getting close to our feet. And there was a scary screeching sound coming from the other side of the huge black metal gates. Somebody, or something, definitely waited for us inside. You've not given me any other options, so knock we shall. I felt that my nervous movements were similar to that of a marionette dangling in the hands of a puppeteer. I stepped toward the garage, holding my breath. Knock, knock? Hello? I gave the sheet metal door a small knock with my knuckles. Knock, knock, hello! And then jumped back. For a moment, it seemed like someone growled in pain inside the metal walls. I heard rusty meat hooks jingle on thick metal chains, awakening someone huge who crawled to open the black gates. Nothing happened. My heart was racing. Alyssa, what are you doing? Still nothing. Knock, knock. I hesitated to turn my back to the garage, so I took a couple Run! I heard a weak, scared voice resound in my head. That's so fucking loud. That's so goddamn loud. Stumbling all over the place, I still... Oh, hey, there was a jump scare. Stumbling all over the place, I still rushed into the night that was swarming with shadows. It's just, there's just so much louder than everything, like, in comparison to everything else. And I understand needing to have, like, that spike of sound, but you don't need it to be 20 times louder than everything else. Honestly. Okay. I ran behind the crooked trunk of a pine, sure that Elisa was by my side. But after a moment had passed, I realized that the girl was nowhere to be found. Especially since, like, everything's already, like, significantly louder in my headphones than what I think it's outputting to everyone else. Fine, whatever, I can work with that, but, like... it hurts my ears. It's unnecessary. Alright. Forrest was mumbling its ancient chants. Squeaking, ticking, rustling. I froze. I didn't know how much time had passed before I realized that I was standing in complete darkness in a circle of trees that were shooting up like trunks high into the sky. Everything around me moved, trembled. My ears went numb from all the rustling. The treetops melted into the darkness of the cosmos. The bushes became empty cells, whose occupants were suddenly set free. It felt like a clawed fang could fly out of that darkness, into my stunned face at any moment. I heard a scream somewhere far away. Someone was looking for me, just like that boy who went missing. Tears stung my eyes. A big drop fell from my lashes. Anton! The scream was closer now, and for a moment I even believed that I was able to be saved. I'm here! One of the trees moved. It wasn't Romka, nor was it Biasha. An adult, tall, with long arms. Many shadows that looked like dogs snuck around behind his back, but those beasts were much larger than Zulka. The forest was dormant no longer. No longer it hid its face behind the fake masks. I stood still, like a deer pierced by the lights of an incoming truck, and the beasts all stared at me. In the semi-dark, without my glasses, I could see very little, but it was still more than enough for me to freeze in terror. A foul smell of animal piss and wet fur enveloped the clearing when the creepy procession with the giant at its head moved toward me. My legs gave way because of fear, and I fell to my knees, into the snow. It looked like I was praying to that figure, to the trees, to the darkness. I didn't dare lift my eyes, so when he got close, showering me with this stench, for a moment, I thought that his legs were covered in gray fur. I shut my eyes so tight that red circles started dancing on the inside of my eyelids. I don't want to look, but I could still hear everything. His breath was akin to sandpaper that was scratching at my ears. His voice was deep, hoarse. No, it wasn't a voice. A roar. Not a Bono nibble. I fished my grandma's chant out of the pool of my memory. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, ashes... It's Goatman! I got a stench and roaring in reply. Words could never protect against claws and fangs. I was helpless. And then I've heard a familiar sweet voice nearby. Come on, do it! Get a taste of him. No! Something hot slid across my throat like a meaty, sticky rope. Someone's tongue. I told you, Master. He's our bunny. Please, take good care of him. From the narrow embrasures of barely lifted eyelids, covered by my trembling fingers, I watched a horrifying silhouette tower over me. It's Mr. Goat! I was taking in the smell of kennels, compost pits, and moss. In front of me stood a scary horned beast with the presence of a monarch. His posture told me of his electrifying nobleness. His horns supported the clouds, and his popped out glaucomas pierced my ready-to-pop eyes with a thorny stare. His hands were full of gifts. Candy fell to the snow, sparkling with its fancy wrappers, silvery packs of chocolate bars, and a Chupa Chups sticking out from the snow pile with its plastic stick. For you! Candy rained at my feet. A doll fell nearby, and then it started raining toys. A a spinning top, a teddy bear with a torn up nose, red-headed Carlson without a propeller, a tin toy soldier with a flag, a firefighter truck, and a crop duster plane. The toys weren't covered in blood, but my imagination was painting them with red spots and crimson leaks all over on its own. The horned shadow of the beast moved over the treasures that once belonged to unknown kids. Take! I can't get better than a goat than that right now. Mr. Goat here to do a nibble. Not a hook hand! Hairy hands reached into surrounding darkness, took out a mangy bunny mask that was haunting me, and forcefully pulled it over my face. Bunny! The shadows of beasts around us slowly and graciously stood up on their rear legs. You mean their rear legs? And then light hit my face, shattering the monster's figure in two. I put up my hand to protect myself. Flashlight's ray slid down. Anton? There you are! Are you out of your mind? What's this all about? I was staring at my dad, completely stunned, into the space where the monster was just a moment ago. Clearing was enveloped in darkness again, but I could still barely make out the outlines of toys and candy in the snow. And I'm sure if I was brave enough to get close to the bushes, I'd find animal prints there. Cat got your tongue? Your classmates came to us. They said that you ran away from them, deep into the forest, and... What the hell are you wearing? I pulled the mask down from my sweaty face and threw it into the heap of toys. Branches cracked in the distance. Pressed myself into my father's chest, engulfed by fear, and he started looking around, alerted, and spoke in a tone of voice that was much more nervous. Okay, let's get out of here. If your mother learns of this, she'll be so mad at us that we'll never forget this day. Reached out for my father, still feeling the chilly embrace of fear. I grabbed his firm hand, felt his quick pulse with my fingertips, then stood up and wobbled along behind my father, following his barely discernible footprints. Back to civilization, back to light, back to the road where my dad parked his car. And not a word about this at home, got it? Don't even hint at where I found you. Alright, Dad. He was holding my hand as if it was the most precious thing in the world, and kept telling me how afraid he is to lose me or Olya. But it wasn't that sticky like an animal tongue fear. His fear was a noble, crystal-clear diamond, and I just nodded in reply and kept moving my feet. And then I heard a familiar voice, coming from behind me. Remember, as long as you're with me, nobody will lay a finger on you here. Man. Listen. The car sped toward the house. There's that stupid garage! Pressed my cheek against the window and saw a short building among the trees, a shack darker than night. The garage that was hidden inside the thicket, crypt made of metal. It almost felt like it was following us. A moment passed and the building disappeared around the corner. I gulped down my dollar? And the white snowflakes just kept dancing in the starry sky. Look what the cat dragged in! Mom was going down the stairs, piercing Dad with her trademark glare. Her face showed something between wrath and condescension. Suddenly, her gaze shifted to me and stayed for a dangerously long time. Is that another Stuber Battle Bets? Probably. Suddenly, her gaze— oh wait, I read that. Hey, what's this? Where are your glasses, Anton? Did you lose them? This dummy probably just forgot them at school. A venomous pause followed. Please don't call me dumb, Dad. He's your son, alright. Dad glared at Mom and then mischievously winked at me, reminding me of our deal. Well, we have spare glasses, so we'll manage somehow. Parents stood in silence a bit longer, and then both of them went to mind their own business. Bye, ridiculously hot Mom. Olya threw herself into my arms before I could even take my coat off. I saw a fox! Surprise akin to a shotgun blast. I could only flap my lips in reply. The cup shattered into many little pieces with a loud thang. My mom let it fall from her hands. Her face was pale and her eyes were glued to the ground. This pause, just a split second, felt like an eternity. Then my mom spoke with disappointment. First it was an owl, now it's a fox. Will you ever get tired of this? But it's true! She was so fluffy! She stood on her back legs near the hedge, just like a person. The fox called my name, but then Mom came and she fled. There was no fox. Stop making things up.
Не подходи к ней.
Don't go near her. I'm pretty sure Mom is being as protective as she is over both Olya and Anton, because kids died when she lived here with her mother, and she probably experienced the same things that Olya experienced. That is my running theory at the moment. If it was necessary, I was ready to shake my sister as if she was a doll made of cloth. She knows! She 100% knows! What's wrong, Tosha?
Не подходи, слышишь?
Don't go, you hear me? Mom entered the hallway and gave me a surprised look. I hesitated.
Лиса ведь укусить
Well, a
может.
fox will bite you. I remembered fairy tales where foxes used to kidnap children. She knows about the super auto pets lurking in the woods, and she's like, don't do it, it's a trap. Super auto pets is a trap. Fruity, don't do it, it's a trap. I remembered fairy tales where foxes used to kidnap children. I imagined my Elisa, liberated, carnivorous, running through the night forest with a dangling sack in her hands.
Это ж была не настоящая лиса.
It wasn't a real fox.
Расскажи, Моль.
Tell him, Olya.
Она на двух
She
ногах
stood on 2
ходила,
legs and she wore a dress.
только она была
And
в
she was
заправке.
real.
Видишь?
See? Mom showed us a tired smile, as if it was the only explanation needed. I also forced myself to smile. My smile was like a thin piece of soap, right before it dissolves completely on your palm. No, I'm pretty sure Mom would still say that, even though you can quit anytime. But when I was left alone with my sister, I whispered,
Раз увидишь её.
if you see her again, run. Excuse me. Thoughts of the forest beast bombarded me like a rain of candy and toys. There was a hairy silhouette standing in front of me, towering over the treetops. Who was he? What happened in the forest? What's happening to me? I shut my eyes and threw the vitamins in my mouth, washed them down with water. Please, stop driving me mad. Please. I barely managed to force myself to do homework, but those math problems just refused to be solved. Numbers in my notebook tumbled around and mixed in a whirling dance, sometimes running over the lines. My head became heavy from that pandemonium, and I almost dropped it into the chain of numbers. My eyelids felt like they were tiny weights tied to them. Or it felt like there were tiny weights tied to them, the type used in grocery stores. And right at the moment I surrendered and closed my notebook, the memories of the day started flashing before my eyes. I was in the middle of a stuffy school corridor. I could see the literature classroom from here, the faces of dead classical writers on their portraits, the prim and regal pose of our homeroom teacher, Lilia Pavlovna. And around that corner was her daughter, Katya, a snitch and a gossip, eagerly waiting for me. Oh, it's her daughter!
Эй, новенький.
Hey, transfer student.
Новенький.
Transfer students!
Чего тебе, Кать?
What do you want, Katya? She got on her tiptoes and started swaying, while hiding her hands behind her back, and then asked me with a fake smile on her face, "Can I ask you something? Why did you get transferred here?" I might have told the truth about this to Polina, but Katya will sell it on the market for 3, kopikas? It would be the same as printing all my thoughts and hanging them near Vova's picture for everyone to see. So I reverted to an answer I knew by
Это
heart.
всё из-за моих родителей.
All because of my parents.
Папы тут новая
Dad has a new
работа,
job here,
а
and my
Мама...
mom... But Katya didn't even listen to me, just rushed toward the perked up ears of her friends, whispered something while stealing glances at me and giggling. Yeah, right. He takes us all for fools. I've heard it's all because of his father. He crossed the road of some big shot, and now their family is hiding on their remote little village.
Правда. Ты
That's
всё врёшь.
not true. You're lying.
А слышали?
Oh, and did you hear how he hit, Baburin out of the blue? How he hit Baburin out of the blue?
Это каким надо
What kind of
быть
freak
уродом,
must you
чтобы
be to
первый
start bullying your classmates from day one?
Прекрати. Ты же знаешь,
Stop,
кто
you
первый
know he
начал.
started it.
Как будто этого
And
мало.
if that wasn't enough, there are rumors that he's hanging out with delinquents from Romka Pyatafan's gang. Be careful with your bags, girls. I wouldn't be surprised if things start disappearing from your wardrobe. And you'll know who to blame. Petrov and his friends. Yes, yes, yes.
Замолчи.
Shut
Заткнись.
up! Look at him scream as if something hit him. His pupils. Look at how wide they are. I hope he won't go insane and resort to violence again. I mean, there must be a reason his mom always feeds him those pills, right? I just stood there in confusion, trying in vain to understand how she found out about my medicine, and what scared me even more was the possibility that her nonsense had some truth mixed in. Yes, that's right. He's as insane as his little sister. Can you imagine that she says a human-sized owl visits her every night? But not a single healthy person has seen it, and the simpleton believes her. Can you imagine that? And then I caught a single kind look from the smirking crowd.
Это правда, Антон?
Is that true, Anton?
Неужели действительно
Are you really...
тебе не здоровится?
Are you unwell?
Полина, послушай
Polina,
меня.
please, listen to me.
Как же
Yeah, right. Don't listen to this liar. Polinachka? There's so many fucking syllables in Russian names, and I have a hard time saying it. You don't even know that he cheated on you with someone not from our school? With Lisa? Polina slouched as if someone kicked her in the stomach, and then burst out in tears and fell to the dirty floor, wailing and screaming. No, no! Why her, Anton? Why? I couldn't understand her reaction, but I still rushed to Polina's side before getting shoved violently by Katya. Get your paws off her, you monster! Rage was building up under the veil of my fear. Slowly rose from the cloudy mist. Felt my upper lip lift creep up, showing my teeth. The fact that your father beats your mother doesn't give you the right to do the same to girls. My fists became hammers. Couldn't unclench them. Nobody can speak about my family like that. Came to my senses when I already lunged at the angry Katya. Aha! He went nuts! Nuts! Upper lip lift creep up is a horrible sentence. Yes, it is. I generally am being a little more kind about, like, not necessarily spelling errors, but, like, weird sentences and things like this, because I'm pretty sure that the devs are Russian. English is not their first language. And they've done pretty alright, but they need a proofreader. And look, I am available to do some proofreading. Just saying. At the same moment, the crowd around her became louder, started whistling and roaring, and growing. The subtle silhouettes of my schoolmates became larger, wider. They shot upward toward the ceiling. Those are horrifying faces. Gonna screenshot that for later. Turned into a giant black forest chock full of toothy faces. I shrank to a tiny ball of fur and started shaking in fear before the night of ulcer-ridden trunks that belonged to either trees or humans. It was impossible to tell. Surprise! This is how Darkwood started. This is the Inception story of Darkwood. So you finally shown your animal nature, coward. Katya's face was twisted with jubilation and ecstasy. Anton? Why her? No! Yeah. No, that one was definitely a typo. There've been a few that are, like, a few things that have just been, like, straight up typos. And then others where you're like, there is no, like, either localization didn't happen, or there really is no, like, good Russian to English translation. But again, I'm here. But yeah, that one was definitely just a straight up typo. How old are these children? Or how old are the devs? These kids are all like 12 or something. I don't know how old the devs are. What makes her better than me? Polina screamed while choking on her tears. He's just an animal. An outsider. Ugh. Scary flapping of wings came from the forest. A pair of giant white ears descended somewhere from above, and I dug myself into them. Anton! Anton! Please, wake up! Olya? I jumped up, almost falling out of bed. Apparently I was thrashing around for hours on the sweat-soaked sheets. Olya's scream pulled me out, set me free from the tentacles of fear. This happened in the first chapter, and it was actually Olya hiding behind the curtain. She got this. Please, wake up! Wake up! It took my eyes a while to focus on the silhouette near the window. Olya's voice was distant. My head was still ringing after the fight. Sounds got distorted, as if my ears were stuffed with cotton. My sister, as distressed as ever, just kept on repeating the same phrase. The owl! The owl! Please! I'm scared! Her tears poured on my heart like boiling water, but I was almost thankful for the owl's appearance. Otherwise, the scared Olya wouldn't have woken me up. Wait a second, Olya. Want me to read Murzilka for you? Give me... I placed my bare heels on the cold floor, felt around for my glasses, remembered Semyon, his underhanded act, and sighed. Anton, please, please, look! She couldn't tear her eyes off the window, as if it was a staring contest. Found the light switch with my hand. The lamp poured bright light all over me. I got up. My vision fooled me, moving the window closer only to push it further the next moment. My sister was just a blurry spot. Took a hesitant step forward. Olya?
Что там?
What's there?
Что-то случилось?
Oh, it's moving. Sorry. What happened?
Ты хочешь, чтобы я
Do you want me to
открыла
open the
шкаф?
curtains? No, please don't! The owl is there! The voice was coming from behind. I turned around and froze from terror. I don't like that it's moving behind the curtain. Teary-eyed Olya stood in the doorway. Who were you talking to right now? She stared at me with eyes that were red from crying, with her hands wrapped around her shoulders. Her voice was nervous, as if she was afraid to hear my answer.
Я разговаривал с тобой.
I was talking to you. To
Притворился тобой.
someone pretending to be you. The ledge outside my windows creaked ominously, as if something huge was sitting on top of it. And the thing that pretended to be Olya started spreading, changing shape, grew to scary heights under the light of a carnivorous moon. I don't like that sound. Please, come closer. Come here. The voice didn't belong to my sister anymore. The thing that was hiding behind my curtain got tired of pretending, making me look like a fool. Pinched myself as hard as I could, hoping that the silhouette near the window was just a continuation of my nightmare, a hallucination, brought upon by the cursed house. And those don't bite, do they? The silhouette was towering before me under the veil of mist. I heard Olya's shrill scream when someone had knocked on the window. It came to get us! Another knock. I stepped back into the middle of the room. As if there existed nooks where I could hide from this horror. The sound was sharp, metallic. The lamp started shimmering, then it suddenly lighted the hole and went out. Like a candle under a strong wind, the filament inside it snapped with a ringing sound. The darkness that was waiting for that exact moment poured from all the angles and enveloped me. There was only the window left in the whole universe. Moonlight poured through it, painting everything the color of bones that were exhumed from a crypt. Olya started squealing and pressed herself into my back, seeking protection. And then an eye, burning with a carnivorous fire, stared at us from the window. No, it wasn't trying to break the window. It was toying with us. It just kept on knocking, driving us mad. As if a giant clock was measuring the time left for us, its pendulum swinging above the abyss. She was screaming in desperation, her hands clutching my arm like a pair of pincers. Anton. Anton. Come closer. I could barely make out a pair of wings that spread out above the black spot. Tell her, Anton. Tell it that I won't be a bad girl anymore. Never, ever. I just wanted to leave. Hi, Sam. Please. The moonlight suddenly disappeared and the room descended into darkness. We couldn't see the burning eye anymore. Llama. Swallowed the stingy lump that was stuck in my throat. I stepped toward the curtains, entranced by the call of this disfigured guest. Olya was standing behind me, mumbling, "I'll be good, I'll be good, I'll be good!" One day you'll be able to do it, and it will be a very rewarding day for you and a very bad day for me. Look, we all have to have goals in our life, right? I think at this point I'm just so on edge and ready for this game to jump scare me that anything else isn't gonna get me right now. But yeah, how are you doing? It's true, the ones that are my voice are definitely better at jump scaring me than spooky scary. At this point, I expect spooky scary skeletons. I still don't get used to hearing my voice while I'm also speaking. The bleak window was creeping closer. Curtains rustled. I reached out to move them aside so I could look my fear in the eye. At that moment, I heard noise coming from my parents' bedroom. Without thinking, I pulled the curtain to the side in one swing. Jump scare. It might be loud. Just a heads up, it might be loud. I'm gonna do it in 3, 2, 1. Nothing. Okay, it wasn't. Mostly just wanted to make sure that it wasn't gonna be terrible and awful. Though there was something shining on the ledge among the scattered feathers. It's my glasses! My glasses! The ones that Semyon took from me. How did they get here? Was that a gift from the gurgling night? Did that owl really bring them here? I looked at the front yard, at the foreboding clearing, at the toothy forest. Fruity, no! Don't do it, Sam. Super Auto Pets is a trap. Don't play it. Not a soul. Not a trace of our late-night guest. Only the old lamppost, dreaming like a lone watchman among the snowy desert. The dry window frame creaked. I tore away from the insulating tape and the strips of glued newspaper. Opened the window with big trouble. Frost pinned me with its little needles. Paintings on my walls moved from the draft. Touched my glasses, sure they would melt in my hands. But they were real. My brain was scrambling for an explanation. Simeon and his gang just pulled a prank on me. That was it. That's it. Smooth white blanket was glittering under the street lamp just outside our yard. If anybody was to get close to the house, to climb the pipe to the ledge of my window, they would surely leave footprints. But there were none. I cautiously took my glasses. My wrist was still intact. Nobody pulled me into the darkness, full of restless writhing. Why aren't you in bed? I swayed from surprise and almost fell out of the window. Are you out of your mind? Did it feel hot in there? Do you want to catch a cold? The owl was here. Tosha chased it away. Go to your room immediately and get in your bed. And you. Mom paused, directing her seething eyes at me. She was thinking of a punishment equivalent to my crime. Did you see footprints? In the end, she just waved her hand, took Olya by the shoulder, and left, throwing gloomy words my way. We'll talk tomorrow. Owl prints. I managed to get the frame back in place with a couple of hits, pressed in the latches with all the strength that my fingers could muster. The cold left the room, but the fear was still present. I placed my glasses on my nose and started studying my reflection in the window. It didn't look like a face, more like a death mask. Just like the one worn by the boy from the notice board. That night, I was on the edge of joining him there. A black and white face was staring at me through the clearing between student heads. And it wasn't Vova's. His face was right beside it. I recognized the fat cheeks, the damaged skin. Semyon. Baburin's photo was printed out and placed under the glass, like an exhibition piece. I don't like the idea that one of their toes is swiveling. Episode 3. Alright. I just got an achievement for, I assume, completing chapter 2. Here is episode 3. We're gonna go ahead and save. Saved! Great! I was expecting this to take us 2 sit-downs because I think it took us... I think we did a 6-hour stream the last time we got through this one. Yes, I'm sure I want to quit. Don't do it, Sam. It's a trap. Genuinely, honestly, it's a trap. Don't do it. But anywho, maybe we will get this done this week. We'll do chapter 3 on Wednesday. I'm excited. And I am glad that we went back and replayed because I definitely had forgotten a lot of stuff that had happened. Why would you do this to yourself? These are all terrible choices that you have made today. These are all terrible choices that you've made, Sam. Entering your snake oil salesman face and despot fruity didn't work out. It could be very bad. It could be very bad. But, shall we find somebody to raid? Let's go hang out with a buddy. Let me get the raid messages up while I'm thinking about it. Who do we have online? Lots of people tonight, actually. I was gonna say, Gucky is on, which I haven't seen Gucky in a hot minute. Do we want to go? Let's go hang out with Gucky. I'm just gonna keep making noises. Great. Well, let's start that raid. I am exhausted and probably gonna play some Dark Souls before I pass out for the rest of the evening. But we'll go say hello to Happy Go Gucky. They've taken an extended break, haven't they? But anyway, thank y'all for hanging out. Thanks for staying. I know we went a little over time, but I'm glad that we finished this chapter tonight. So yeah, I love y'all. You're great and wonderful. I might be able to do a little bit of Murderbot if you're up for it. Yeah. Yeah. We'll chat about it. But anywho, let's move on over to Gucky. I'll see you all later. Have a great rest of your time zone. And we'll see y'all later. Goodbye, friends!